A gleaming blade flashes, representing 2 decades of non-stop hard work and endless dedication. A sharp strike cleanly cuts through energy, showing the skill of a true master. Leo spent countless grueling days pushing his physical and mental limits to reach perfection. He trained so intensely that painful blisters completely covered both of his hands. He abandoned a normal life early on to spend every waking moment practicing his craft. For 20 long years, he focused entirely on understanding every single detail of the blade. His obsession with perfection eventually earned him the title of the finest knife master in the nation. However, Leo did not fight monsters. He became an extraordinary sashimi master chef instead. His restaurant became packed with hungry customers eager to taste his masterfully sliced fish dishes. Orders poured in constantly as people raved about his incredible speed and culinary precision. While the kitchen was busy, a strange digital chiming sound suddenly rang out of nowhere. The kitchen staff froze in confusion, wondering where the mysterious sound was coming from. Leo focuses on his craft, but a strange, persistent notification keeps sounding. Distracted by the noise, he tries to turn the alert off. Leo checks his earphone, wondering what is causing the constant sound. He sees a bizarre message on his phone about a hero and a demon attack. A group of unexpected visitors suddenly steps into his quiet kitchen. Leo turns around to face the men who just entered his workspace. The men walk forward, clearly intending to confront the chef. A man in a fancy suit smiles at Leo, surrounded by his bodyguards. The man stands confidently, looking for a reaction from the chef. The visitors crowd the room, waiting for Leo to speak. The man in the suit tells his guards to present something to Leo. They open a briefcase filled with stacks of cash to bribe him. Victor smiles greedily, confident that his huge bribe will persuade Leo to accept his offer. Suddenly, blinding light flashes across the dark room with unbelievable speed and sharp precision. Multiple powerful slashes slice through the air in the blink of an eye. The rapid knife strikes wrap up cleanly before anyone can even react. Leo stands ready with his sashimi knife, showing off his unbelievable blade mastery. The giant tuna instantly falls into perfectly cut slices all across the counter. Leo sternly glares at Victor, warning him that kitchen hygiene is his top priority. Victor stares in shock at the perfectly sliced fish scattered across the kitchen floor. Victor excitedly calls Leo a godlike swordsman whose talents are wasted on fish. Leo suddenly flashes his razor-sharp knife directly at the wealthy visitor. Terrified by Leo's menacing aura, Victor and his bodyguards scream and jump back. Victor offers Leo a large sum of money to change his mind. Leo walks away, ignoring the offer and leaving Victor behind. Leo sighs as he steps out into the night air. Leo talks to a coworker about his long career of cutting fish. His coworker asks if he is talking to someone on his phone. Leo explains it is just a notification from a game. Leo decides to head inside because the boss has arrived. Leo thinks about his difficult life since his family struggled years ago. He wonders if he has been working too hard lately. Leo fumbles with his phone while checking the screen. A mysterious game alert warns that the academy is under attack. Leo taps the screen to see what is happening to the academy. Leo looks at his phone with a confused and worried expression. A strange message about beautiful girls appears on his screen. The phone makes a loud, buzzing noise as it glitches out. Leo holds his glowing phone while the screen displays mysterious data. Leo suddenly leaves the room, abandoning his phone on the floor. The coworker walks in and spots the glowing phone left behind. The coworker wonders why Leo left his phone in the hallway. The coworker walks toward the abandoned phone sitting on the ground. Some players find it generic, but everyone is talking about the game's famous characters. As the game loads, a mysterious prompt asks the user to touch the screen. A blinding light suddenly erupts from the device, signaling something strange is happening. The game's characters begin to manifest, stepping out from the digital world into reality. A blonde, energetic character appears with a confident smirk, ready to cause some trouble. The game interface overlays the real world, turning ordinary life into a playable quest. Leo watches in shock as the game characters start interacting with his surroundings. A small, pixelated foot taps against the ground, proving the game is now physically present. A random bystander is grabbed by a game character, panicking as the chaos unfolds. Leo stares at the screen, realizing his simple life has just been turned upside down. Leo encounters a mysterious figure named Geomma in the middle of the busy city. The sudden movement catches Leo by surprise as they bump into each other. Leo is shocked to realize the mysterious person is actually a woman. Leo quickly checks to see if the young woman is okay after the collision. The woman apologizes politely and continues on her way without much fuss. Leo rides the train to his next stop while thinking about the strange encounter. He taps his travel card at the station gate to pay his fare. Leo finally arrives home and steps out of the building elevator. He reaches for his apartment door lock to head inside for the night. A voice calls out to Geomma, claiming she is the pride of her family. Someone inside the apartment reaches out to handle an important document. Leo wears a nervous smile, clearly feeling uneasy about the situation at home. Leo collapses into his chair at home, feeling exhausted after his long day. He hears strange rustling sounds, making him feel on edge and uneasy. He looks at a framed photo of his friends and hears a voice whispering. The voice cruelly blames him for everything that has gone wrong. Leo ignores the voice and focuses on an acceptance letter for Geomma. He remembers that certain people in this world possess special divine blessings. These blessings grant individuals incredible powers that they can wield in battle. These abilities function exactly like the powerful skills from his favorite game. Many warriors use these unique gifts to fight with swords and shields. Others use their blessings to cast magic or provide support for allies. However, Leo knows that not every human is born with these powers. Most people only gain these special abilities through their family genetics. In this world, having a powerful blessing is what truly separates the rich from the poor. These rare, inherited abilities determine a person's entire status and future in society. The elite gather at a prestigious academy to hone these gifts and solidify their power. The academy was originally built with the noble goal of training great heroes. Leo feels a sudden, sharp pain as these memories and thoughts flood his mind. The world is plagued by a terrifying threat known as the Demon King. Monstrous creatures and dark forces constantly endanger the lives of everyone. Hordes of skeletons, orcs, and beasts serve the dark side in this brutal war. Leo sits at his desk, contemplating the true purpose of the academy. He wonders if the school is really preparing them for the dangers ahead. A mysterious notification pops up, revealing a new ability called the Blessing of Painlessness. Leo stares at the screen, shocked by the strange discovery he just made. He feels overwhelmed, saying that reading about this power makes him want to cry. Leo carefully examines the glowing window to understand how this blessing works. A sudden, dramatic sound effect echoes as the system reveals a critical condition. The blessing only activates when he uses a very small, thin blade. Leo realizes his powerful blade god blessing is tied to this odd, specific requirement. His eyes narrow as he begins to understand the true nature of his weapon. He holds up his blade, struggling to process the bizarre reality of his power. The legendary weapon he possesses is actually just a simple sashimi knife. He stares at the kitchen tool, realizing his destiny is tied to this thin blade. Leo leans back in his chair, letting out a frustrated scream at his situation. Leo stands in the academy, feeling confused about his strange new situation. He reaches into his bag, preparing to reveal his odd choice of weapon. The instructor watches him, clearly feeling uneasy and suspicious of Leo. Leo pulls out a pile of simple, cheap kitchen knives to show him. These bargain bin blades are heavily discounted, making the scene even more ridiculous. Leo presents his collection of sashimi knives to the speechless instructor. The instructor stares at the knives, struggling to process what he sees. Suddenly, the instructor slams his hand down on the counter in anger. The loud bang echoes through the room, startling everyone nearby. Leo keeps a calm, blank expression despite the instructor's intense reaction. He remains completely unfazed as the tension in the room spikes higher. The angry instructor shouts at Leo, demanding an explanation for his behavior. Leo presents his collection of simple, dull-looking knives to the instructor. Other students watch the scene and mock Leo for his strange choice of weapons. The instructor loses his temper and shouts at Leo in total disbelief. Leo stays silent while the angry instructor demands an explanation for his behavior. Leo eventually leaves the classroom to find some peace and quiet outside. He sits on a lonely bench, feeling drained from the intense confrontation. Leo looks up at the sky and sighs, feeling completely exhausted. He closes his eyes, trying to clear his mind after the stressful day. The beautiful academy grounds are peaceful and quiet in the afternoon sun. The large buildings of the school stand tall under the bright blue sky. A gentle breeze blows through the campus, making the day feel calm. Leo relaxes on the bench, finally enjoying a moment of well-deserved rest. Leo finds a quiet park bench to take a break after his rough day. He sits alone, enjoying the peaceful atmosphere away from the noisy classroom. Leo reaches into his bag to pull out his special training tool. He reveals one of his unique knives, looking calm and focused. A sudden, intense energy begins to pulse from his hand. Leo remembers the wise words his first teacher once told him. He starts to carefully rub and polish the blade of his knife. The metal rings with a sharp, clear sound as he inspects it. A confident smile spreads across his face as he prepares to practice. He grips the handle tightly, ready to unleash his hidden power. Suddenly, a bright, crackling blue aura ignites along the steel blade. The knife glows with powerful energy, humming with incredible, magical strength. Leo grips his knife tightly as bright blue energy begins to surge. The air around him hums with intense and crackling magical power. A system notification appears, confirming the activation of a powerful blessing. Bright sparks of electricity dance wildly around his glowing weapon. The energy reaches a blinding peak, lighting up the entire area. A massive bolt of lightning strikes, but something goes wrong instantly. A red warning message flashes, stating his body is too weak. The magical connection suddenly shatters under the overwhelming strain. Leo looks shocked as his intense focus is violently interrupted. He stands still, struggling to maintain his grip on the blade. Another error appears, claiming his equipment grade is too low. The colorful energy flickers and fades into a dark void. The system begins to adjust the power to match Leo's current level. A sharp, buzzing sound fills the air as the energy stabilizes. Leo looks on with wide eyes as the intense magic surges around him. The system confirms that the synchronization process is finally complete. A divine message appears, offering a blessing to aid him in battle. Leo's eyes widen in shock as the overwhelming power takes hold. Bright, crackling bolts of electricity surge through the dark space. The energy flows directly into his blade, making it glow with power. Leo grips his weapon tightly as the violent current shakes his body. The sensation is incredibly intense and pushes him to his absolute limit. Leo lets out a loud, pained cry as the energy courses through him. He gasps for air, struggling to stay standing under the immense pressure. A sudden burst of raw, blinding energy explodes around Leo in the yard. The overwhelming power forces Leo to his knees as he struggles to breathe. Leo stares in shock, his eyes wide as the intense magic surges through him. Birds chirp in the quiet academy, contrasting with the chaos inside Leo's mind. His head throbs painfully as he fights to maintain control of his body. Gritting his teeth, Leo tries to push back against the crushing mental strain. His hand begins to tremble uncontrollably from the sheer weight of the energy. Leo stands tall, his knife resting on the ground, glowing with fierce light. He stares down at the blade, feeling the dangerous power pulsing within it. He forces himself to stay focused and prepares to reach for the weapon. Leo slowly reaches out, his hand still shaking from the intense physical toll. With a burst of resolve, he grips the handle and claims his power. Leo screams in agony as the blade god's overwhelming power surges through his entire body. The intense magical feedback sends Leo flying backward while his friends watch in shock. The scene shifts to the Grand Academy arena where a massive crowd cheers for the event. Students gather in the stadium, buzzing with excitement about the upcoming matches and festivities. Wealthy spectators chat nearby, bragging about how much money they spent to attend this event. One man notices something interesting and points it out to his wealthy companions nearby. The atmosphere turns serious as a mysterious and powerful man watches from the shadows. The man stares intently with sharp, glowing eyes, clearly focused on something important ahead. The spectators decide to head back to their seats, unaware of the tension nearby. The mysterious man sighs deeply, carrying the weight of a hidden and heavy burden. He looms in the darkness, his intense gaze suggesting a looming threat to everyone present. Suddenly, a glamorous woman named Medea appears, introducing herself as a famous hero. A mysterious older man approaches, noting that 50 years have passed since they last met. The teal-haired woman smiles at him, clearly unfazed by his heavy and dark presence. He remarks that while she is nearing 70, she still looks exactly the same as before. The woman giggles dismissively, seemingly amused by his blunt observation about her age. She keeps a playful, confident expression as she continues their tense conversation. She brushes off his comments, showing no signs of concern or worry. She remains relaxed, watching the man with a mysterious and knowing smirk. The man stares at her silently, his golden eyes filled with deep suspicion. Meanwhile, other students at the academy event are busy talking and cheering. Leo stands alone in the middle of the crowded stadium, feeling completely out of place. He sighs, knowing that everyone can tell he does not belong in this fancy setting. Nearby, wealthy students whisper insults, mocking Leo's presence and looking down on him. Leo watches the crowd with intense focus, his sharp eyes scanning for hidden threats. The other students are buzzing, unaware of the tension building in the room. Leo senses something strange and asks what is happening as the crowd reacts. A mysterious girl with glowing hair steps forward, drawing everyone's attention instantly. The students watch in awe as she walks past them with an air of power. She carries a unique, sharp weapon that catches the light and looks very dangerous. Her striking eyes lock onto her surroundings, showing she is not just an ordinary student. She exudes a calm confidence that makes everyone around her feel uneasy. Leo realizes that a major confrontation is coming, and he must prepare himself. The story reveals a secret dimension called subspace, created by a man named Valor. While people act normal in reality, they suffer damage and pain inside the subspace. Inside this hidden realm, a fierce battle is raging between invisible forces. The skilled swordsman prepares to unleash a powerful, glowing strike against his opponent. An older man and a woman discuss the academy's dangerous subspace battle traditions. They explain that students must survive as long as possible to earn rankings. It is essentially a brutal survival game hidden from the rest of the world. The woman insists that everyone must participate in these deadly events regardless. Leo watches the scene unfold, looking suspicious and deeply concerned by this news. The teal-haired girl walks through the academy, drawing attention from all the students. Leo thinks the students are naive for not understanding the true danger involved. The mysterious teal-haired girl maintains a cold, focused expression as she walks by. She suddenly approaches a blonde boy, looking at him with a strange smile. They stand close together, creating an intense and unsettling atmosphere between them. A book titled Career Guide mocks the academy's false promises of peace and safety. Leo checks his career guide while preparing for the upcoming academy exam. He struggles to hold his blade, feeling the immense pressure of his training. Leo wonders what kind of easy work he can find in the academy. Suddenly, a mysterious device appears, signaling that the dangerous exam is starting. The subspace generator glows brightly as it prepares to transport the students away. An instructor explains the new ranking system for the 10 grouped students. The groups are split into stars, dragons, wolves, and the lowest, ordinaries. Other students look ready for battle, unaware of the true danger awaiting them. Leo realizes this deadly survival test is exactly like the game he knows. The instructors command the subspace generator to activate for the final exam. A blinding light consumes the area as the spatial transfer begins immediately. Leo and his classmates are pulled into the subspace, beginning their life or death mission. Leo finishes his intense exam with a powerful surge of energy. A massive wave of magical force erupts from his position. The exam results confirm Rachel takes the top spot for her group. High above the arena, two observers watch the students compete. They discuss how the outcome of the exam is already clear. The man is impressed by a student's incredibly fast completion time. The student, Alice, finished the task quickly using basic gear. The observers note that Alice shares her grandfather's impressive talent. The man remains focused, watching the events unfold with a serious look. He prepares to take action as the observation continues. The two observers keep a close eye on the arena below. Shards of light fill the air as the intense battle reaches a breaking point. A powerful gust of wind sweeps across the arena during the fierce exchange. The academy officials watch the chaos from above with wide, shocked eyes. Two students are suddenly knocked backward, crashing hard against the ground. A blinding flash of energy erupts, signaling a massive release of power. The light intensifies, casting a brilliant glow over the entire arena floor. An older observer stares intensely, his sharp eyes tracking every single movement. A singular beam of concentrated energy shoots straight down from the sky. The strike descends like a pillar of light, overwhelming the surrounding area. A blade slams into the ground with incredible force, ending the clash instantly. Medea urgently shouts for the medics to rush onto the field immediately. The pressure of the attack lingers as officials scramble to help the fallen. The intense clash reaches a breaking point as energy flares everywhere. The blinding light reveals a moment of total chaos on the battlefield. Victor screams in fury, unable to handle how easily he is being pushed back. With a heavy thud, Victor takes a brutal hit and gasps for air. The fight continues with overwhelming force as more students are knocked aside. A massive shockwave tears through the arena, leaving destruction in its wake. The dust settles to show several students lying defeated on the ground. Leo stands tall, looking down at the wreckage of the nightmare he caused. Two new arrivals, Arthur and Silas, look over the scene and call the students weak. Arthur mocks the fallen students, demanding they show him more effort. A beaten student groans weakly as he collapses onto the hard floor. Leo watches with disgust, annoyed that the enemy has been torturing students for 30 minutes. He grips his fists tightly, wondering if they are ignoring him because he looks weak. Nearby, Silas drops a defeated student to the floor like a rag doll. Silas scoffs in disappointment, calling the helpless academy students completely boring. He counts his knocked-out targets and gets annoyed after realizing he only got 2. He hears a painful crack as another student writhes in agony nearby. Silas turns around in annoyance to see who is stealing his targets. Arthur stands over the fallen bodies and casually asks Silas what the problem is. Arthur brutally slams another student down onto the cracked stone floor. Silas shouts in anger because Arthur has already eliminated 4 victims single-handedly. Arthur smirks and points, telling Silas he can take the remaining target. The terrified girl trembles in fear as Arthur points at her. Leo watches angrily and gets ready to step in. He realizes the poor girl is too frightened to fight back. Silas and Arthur march slowly toward their helpless target. Silas stops with a sinister grin on his face. Silas readies his red gauntlet and calls her his exact type. Arthur snickers, thinking his brother is a total creep. Silas menacingly licks his fist and threatens to tear her apart. Suddenly, Leo steps right in front of them to block their path. Leo angrily confronts them for going too far, knowing he jumped in without thinking. Silas and Arthur pause in surprise, realizing another student is left. They look at Leo's name tag and mock him for being a lowborn student. Silas and Arthur smirk at each other, agreeing that this lowborn student will be an easy target. Arthur steps forward aggressively, promising his brother he will finish Leo off in no time. Blood splashes across the stone floor as Arthur strikes with brutal force. Arthur grins maliciously, telling Silas to tear out Leo's tongue for speaking back. Silas casually agrees, while Leo stands tense as the situation becomes extremely dangerous. Leo grits his teeth in fury, wondering if he should activate his pain resistance ability. A sharp ringing sound cuts through the air as magical energy suddenly surges. Leo gasps in surprise as he senses a sudden change in the atmosphere. He realizes that the strong reaction is coming from the sashimi knife in his bag. Bright blue light bursts out from the bag resting on the floor. A confident smirk appears on Leo's face as dark power awakens inside him. Leo stands tall under the light, fully prepared to take down both arrogant brothers. Arthur and Silas pause in confusion as a strange atmosphere suddenly fills the air. Inside his bag, Leo tightly grips the handle of his trusty sashimi knife. Blinding blue energy erupts from the bag as the zipper pulls open. Arthur and Silas look on in total shock, feeling the massive surge of power. Arthur bursts out laughing hysterically when he sees Leo draw a simple kitchen knife. Medea watches nervously as Leo calmly unsheaths his glowing blade in front of his enemies. Amused by the small weapon, Arthur prepares his massive gauntlet to crush him. He stomps heavily onto the floor, declaring he will finish the fight in one shot. Arthur leaps high into the air, aiming to smash Leo's head straight into the ground. He dives down with immense force, surrounding himself in a wave of destructive energy. Leo stands his ground firmly, completely unfazed by the ferocious wind and pressure. Bracing for impact, Leo realizes he only needs to survive for 30 seconds to win. Leo activates a special skill called Blessing of Painlessness to survive the coming blow. This skill will completely dull all physical pain he feels for 30 seconds. However, it requires a long 12-hour cooldown before he can use it again. Leo grips his glowing sashimi knife tightly as he prepares to endure the attack. Next, his system activates the blessing of the blade god to boost his weapon. Arthur slams down with a massive, giant red gauntlet strike from above. Arthur screams wildly and mocks Leo, confident he will instantly crush him. Leo stands his ground and glares back sharply at his aggressive opponent. He narrows his eyes as a vivid past memory suddenly rushes back to him. He recalls asking Geomma if sashimi techniques could slice more than just fish. His master yelled furiously at him for asking such a crazy question back then. Geomma insisted back then that not even a god could pull off such a feat. Leo's eye flashes with brilliant light as he prepares his ultimate counterattack. Intense sword aura flares across the area in a bright burst of blue light. The powerful slash cuts cleanly through the air with incredible speed. Meanwhile, Arthur gathers his fiery red aura into his giant armored fist. Arthur screams out in fury, confident that his strike will end the fight. He leaps high into the air to crush Leo under his massive power. Suddenly, Leo unleashes a blinding white slash straight through Arthur's attack. Leo completes his swift sword motion, slipping right past his opponent. Arthur gapes in shock as his giant armored arm is sliced completely apart. Leo's eyes glow with fierce blue light as he stays completely focused. Leo stands calm and unbothered while smoke and sparks drift around him. Arthur crashes hard onto the arena floor, creating a massive explosion of rubble. A young chef casually asks his master why gangsters prefer using sashimi knives in combat. Before he can finish speaking, a sharp knife suddenly flies past and sticks into the wall. His stern master glares down at him and asks why he wants to know that. The master then prepares a fresh fish on his wooden cutting board to explain. He firmly presses down on the fish to show its tough skin and flesh. He wipes his hands and scolds the apprentice for asking such a silly question. He explains that narrow sashimi knives are designed for stabbing repeatedly without sticking in flesh. The apprentice asks if a master could simply slice through a body like cutting fish. The master angrily yells that making such a perfect slice through flesh and bone is impossible. Back in the present, Arthur's giant armored arm flies high into the air. Arthur tumbles backward in complete shock as his arm is completely severed by Leo's impossible slash. The onlookers gasp in total disbelief at what just took place. Victor stares frozen in shock after witnessing the terrifying display. Medea watches with wide eyes, completely stunned by the clean slice. Leo stands tall with his knife, emitting a chilling aura of power. Agonizing screams fill the air as the severity of the wound sets in. Arthur holds his bleeding arm stump and screams out in agonizing pain. Crying in absolute horror, Arthur realizes his arm has been severed. Leo steps forward calmly while Arthur trembles in pure terror. Panicking completely, Arthur screams at Leo to stay away from him. Arthur stumbles backward and falls hard onto the ground in fear. Leo slowly advances while Arthur weakly cries out for someone to help. Terrified, Arthur desperately crawls away, begging anyone nearby to save him. Silas watches in complete shock as Arthur breaks down in panic right before his eyes. Arthur screams out in pure terror, frantically begging Silas to come save his life. Crying hysterically, Arthur stammers about his missing arm while retreating backward in agony. Arthur shrieks in absolute desperation, begging anyone to stop the monster approaching him. A sharp red flash slices across Arthur's face before he can finish his plea. Arthur realizes his imminent death as another fatal strike cuts cleanly through him. Arthur collapses lifelessly onto the ground right at Leo's calm, unmoving feet. Leo turns his cold gaze towards Silas, taking a slow, menacing step forward. Silas gasps in horror as a crushing aura of bloodlust fills the room. Silas trembles in pure dread, completely paralyzed by the deadly pressure in the air. Arthur's eyes remain wide open as he lies lifeless on the floor. A faint static noise hums beside Arthur's motionless body. Silas screams in utter shock after watching Arthur fall. Leo stands panting heavily, holding his sharp sashimi knife. Medea watches in total shock, stunned by Leo's terrifying victory. Silas grits his teeth, unable to believe Arthur was beaten by a knife. Leo looks down at Arthur's defeated form as smoke clears. Seeing Leo shake, Silas wonders if his win was just pure luck. Silas reaches down and grabs his heavy combat gauntlet. He locks the massive power gauntlets onto both of his hands. Powerful golden aura flares around Silas as his championship belt glows. Glowing system windows grant Silas massive stat buffs for defense and jumping. Silas activates another buff, drastically boosting his gauntlet's punching power. He grins evilly, confident that his powered-up armor makes him completely unbeatable. Silas boasts that he will unleash all three of his special blessings at once. Massive blue energy surges around his heavy mechanical suit as he charges up. He mocks Leo, saying that a simple knife won't work against him. Silas boasts that not even an elite weapon could pierce his ultimate defense. Meanwhile, Leo stands completely calm, quietly counting down the seconds in his head. Frustrated by Leo's stillness, Silas yells at him to move. Silas rushes forward at top speed with his powered-up gauntlet ready to strike. He swings his massive fist down, mocking Leo for standing still. Leo stays completely calm, holding his glowing knife and preparing to react. Silas shouts in rage, declaring that he will crush Leo's head. Silas grins maniacally, confident that his ultimate attack will destroy Leo. He screams with fury as he lunges forward to smash Leo into dust. Leo remains totally unbothered and quietly begins his countdown at 5. Dozens of sharp, glowing blades suddenly rain down and pierce right into Silas. The magical sashimi knives impale Silas's body, easily puncturing through his strong buffed armor. His heavy armored gauntlet drops uselessly to the floor, completely destroyed by the attack. Silas trembles in absolute shock, coughing blood as his confidence completely shatters. Leo holds his knife coolly and calmly counts down to 3 and 2. Bleeding heavily, Silas collapses onto the ground, totally defeated and unable to stand. Leo looks down at his fallen foe with icy eyes and whispers 1. Darkness consumes Silas's fading sight as he realizes he has lost everything. Leo counts down to 0 while dark shadow energy engulfs Silas completely. A system window appears, announcing that Silas's pain-blocking blessing has finally ended. Agonizing pain rushes back all at once, filling the air with horrific screams. Silas screams violently as the full agony of his injuries tears through him. He cries out in pain, lifting his glowing sword while Medea watches nearby. Silas lies bloody and defeated on the floor, whispering about a phantom. Later, Leo wakes up groaning in a hospital room, slowly pulling off his covers. The instructor opens the door and steps inside to inspect Leo's condition. The instructor speaks with Leo, making sure he is doing all right after the battle. Suddenly, footsteps click against the floor as more visitors arrive at the room. Leo turns his head in surprise as 2 powerful figures loom over his bed. Geomma and Medea stand beside his bed, calmly staring down at the young fighter. Geomma looks at Leo in silence with a sharp and intense gaze. Medea greets Leo with a cheerful wave and asks how he is feeling. A bit bewildered, Leo stammers back that he is doing fine. Geomma cuts straight to the point to speak about the serious situation. Leo sits up in his hospital bed while listening intently to his visitors. Geomma leans on his walking cane as he carefully observes Leo. Leo remembers the brutal final strike he dealt to defeat Silas. A dark mood falls over Leo as he reflects on the violent fight. Suddenly, Leo senses something in the room and shifts his gaze. Geomma grips a dark sword sheath etched with glowing red symbols. Geomma stands tall, displaying the mysterious weapon beside his walking cane. Leo watches silently as he stares at the impressive blade. Leo sits up in his hospital bed and glares at Geomma with a serious expression. Geomma and Leo lock eyes in a tense stare down inside the quiet hospital room. Medea steps between them and lets out a tired sigh at their stubborn behavior. She sits beside Leo and pats his chest, explaining that Geomma actually healed his body. Medea gazes lovingly at Leo with bright hearts floating around her face. She giggles softly as she teasingly enjoys seeing Leo feel so flustered and confused. Medea clings affectionately to Leo, leaving both him and Geomma completely stunned. Medea gets right next to Leo's face and playfully tells him not to be so serious. She puts a finger to her lips and whispers secret information about his recent battle. Medea leans closer and mentions that the Academy faculty carefully reviewed his fight footage. The teachers watched the full recording of Leo bravely fighting to protect the helpless students. Medea dramatically reenacts how heroically Leo protected the helpless student during the fight. She drools in excitement over his actions until Geomma sternly coughs to interrupt her. Medea angrily yells back at Geomma for interrupting, while Leo watches them in silence. Geomma ignores her outburst and calmly asks her to maintain at least a little dignity. Medea smiles and explains that the arrogant twins only got in through family bribery. She chuckles that they were expelled, while Leo slowly processes what this means. Leo suddenly feels a deep sense of dread about where this news is leading. Medea and Geomma look at Leo together, ready to deliver some big news. They loudly congratulate Leo for his outstanding courage and performance. Leo stares back at them in total confusion, unable to process what he heard. He screams in horror, realizing his goal of an easy life is completely ruined. Later, Leo runs reluctantly during training, weeping that his peaceful school life has officially failed. High above the academy grounds, quiet conversations echoed inside the main administrative office. Medea relaxed on her sofa with warm tea, letting out a heavy sigh. She reflected on how she had taught at the academy for nearly 2 decades. In all those years, she had never witnessed an incident quite like this one. Meanwhile, Leo sat quietly across from them with a completely serious expression. Both Medea and Geomma looked back at him in absolute shock. Medea stammered as she turned her eyes toward Geomma in confusion. She explained that entering the elite star class was a massive achievement. Medea tried to make Leo understand just how huge this offer truly was. Geomma leaned heavily on his cane as both teachers stood before Leo. Leo looked at them blankly, completely unbothered by their grand announcement. Medea and Geomma stared in utter disbelief at his total lack of excitement. Meanwhile, the elderly master watches Leo's fight recording with extreme skepticism and sharp scrutiny. Medea sits across from Silas, asking if he saw the video of Leo's unbelievable battle. Silas takes a sip of tea, completely unconvinced that Leo possesses any real high-level talent. He breaks down the video, claiming Leo lacks impressive physical traits or refined sword techniques. Silas insists that Leo simply does not have enough battle experience to justify such power. But as he watches the exact moment Leo draws his blade, something startles him deeply. The video reveals an overwhelming aura behind Leo's strike that stuns the Grandmaster. It shows a pure and terrifying intent to cut through anything in his way. Silas drops his calm composure, looking on in total shock and disbelief. The sheer presence radiating from Leo's single slash completely shatters Silas's doubt. He realizes that Leo has achieved absolute sword mastery that defies all common logic. Silas is left trembling, utterly terrified and amazed by Leo's monstrous true power. Lightning-like aura crackles brightly, representing the sheer force of Leo's flawless strike. Silas remains completely silent, unable to process what he just witnessed. He carefully sets his teacup back down onto the saucer. He is stunned that a young boy achieved such legendary sword mastery. He ponders whether this gifted youth could have saved him in battle. Medea smirks and asks the old grandmaster what he thinks of Leo. Silas stares back quietly, leaving Medea feeling a bit confused. She leans back confidently and boasts about her keen eye for talent. She asks him what people call someone as perceptive as her. Silas suddenly slams his teacup down hard on the table. Medea's heart skips a beat as she senses his intense aura. Silas cuts her off and bluntly calls her delusional. Medea gasps in sheer shock as Silas's overwhelming aura suddenly fills the entire room. The intense pressure becomes so heavy that the teacup on the desk suddenly cracks apart. Meanwhile, Leo stands quietly in the hallway outside of his assigned classroom door. He looks up at the wooden sign on the wall, identifying it as the Wolf class. Leo recalls how Medea passionately argued that the top scorer belonged in the elite class. Although Leo begged to join the regular class, Medea stubbornly refused his simple request. She desperately offered to keep his secret as long as he accepted the high rank. Medea panicked internally, fearing the academy elders would throw a fit if he stayed low profile. Snapping back to reality, Leo gently pushes open the large wooden door to enter. Suddenly, a loud bang echoes through the room, startling Leo as he steps inside. He looks up to find the entire room of top students and a teacher staring right at him. Leo enters the classroom, and the entire room falls completely silent. The other students stare at Leo with intense curiosity and judgment. Students begin whispering and laughing behind Leo's back as he walks by. Leo feels awkward, wishing the students would just ignore him instead. He finds a seat and settles in, hoping to avoid any more attention. Suddenly, a girl approaches Leo's desk and stands there nervously. They stand in silence for a moment, waiting for someone to speak. The girl looks flustered and shy, struggling to find the right words. Leo tries to be polite and addresses the girl directly. He tells her not to worry about what others might be saying. The girl insists that the rumors about him are not true. Leo smiles and introduces himself as Geomma to break the tension. Leo greets a girl named Chloe, surprised to see her in his class. He thinks about how new characters usually do not appear this late. Leo asks Chloe to keep the details of his exam performance a secret. Chloe looks nervous and starts to say something back to him. Suddenly, their new instructor walks in and yells for the students to sit. Leo and Chloe quickly turn their attention toward the front of the room. The instructor slams his book down on the desk to grab their attention. The teacher introduces himself as Wonbin Lee to the entire class. Blank, true. Wonbin Lee stares down the students while preparing to give them orders. A student raises his hand to ask about the upcoming training session. The instructor assigns a surprisingly simple workout routine for the students to complete. Leo sits in class, wondering if the instructor wants to make everyone bald. Leo approaches the tough instructor to ask a quick question. The instructor gives a mysterious, knowing smirk in response. He suggests Leo join the elite star class for more intense training. Leo tries to act cool, keeping his true abilities a complete secret. Leo thinks the extra challenge is exactly what he needs right now. He enthusiastically thanks the instructor for the opportunity to improve. Leo starts the intense physical training, immediately feeling breathless. He forces his tired legs to keep moving on the dusty track. The other students zoom past him while he struggles to keep up. Leo lags behind the group, feeling the physical toll of the run. Exhausted, Leo gasps that he might actually die from this exercise. Leo is completely exhausted after the intense training session with the star class. His classmate, Ruby, notices how much he is struggling to keep up. She encourages him to keep moving forward despite his heavy fatigue. Ruby continues to offer him support as they push through the exercise. Leo looks confused, wondering why she is being so helpful to him. Ruby cheers him on with a smile, telling him he can do it. She sprints ahead, leaving Leo to catch his breath on the track. Leo is totally wiped out, gasping for air as his body gives up. He forces himself to keep running, even though his legs feel like lead. Back in his room, Leo is surprised to find a guest waiting for him. The sun sets over the academy as Leo finally finishes his long day. His stomach growls loudly, showing just how much energy he spent today. Leo is so exhausted that he just throws his water bottle aside. The bottle hits the floor with a loud, frustrated bang. Lying in bed, Leo's stomach growls loudly from extreme hunger. He looks absolutely miserable and desperate for a real meal. Leo heads to the academy cafeteria, hoping to finally satisfy his hunger. The cafeteria is busy and filled with the sound of students chatting. Leo rushes to the counter, eagerly shouting his order for pork. The kitchen staffer gives him a cold, intense stare in return. Leo freezes when he realizes he needs special tickets to get food. He ignores the confusion and confidently asks for his pork bowl anyway. His confidence quickly fades as he looks at the menu board. He is shocked to see the incredibly high price for a simple meal. Leo arrives at the cafeteria, but he is shocked by the ridiculous prices on the menu. He stares in disbelief at the cost of a simple fried pork meal. Leo cannot believe the academy expects students to pay such an insane amount. Hunger consumes him, but he has no money to afford a proper meal. He desperately tries to catch a single drop of water to soothe his hunger. Frustrated and starving, Leo throws his water bottle aside in a fit of rage. He collapses onto his bed, shouting about how unfair the academy's pricing is. Leo remembers his father once giving him pocket money, but that is long gone now. He glares at his empty water bottle, annoyed by its silly brand name. Exhausted, he flops face first into his pillow to try and sleep through the hunger. His stomach continues to rumble loudly while he tries to rest. Suddenly, a mysterious system notification appears, announcing an upgrade to his physical grade. Leo wakes up suddenly as a strange notification appears in his dark room. His system interface confirms that his physical grade has leveled up from 1 to 2. The system also notes that his blade restrictions have decreased due to his stronger body. Leo stares at the floating blue screen in total disbelief. A small, confident smile forms on his face as he processes the good news. He steps out of bed to test his new physical condition. Leo checks his reflection and notices his muscles have become more defined. He admits to himself that he has finally made some real progress. He feels like he has evolved into a completely different person. The system clarifies that his special blessing only works with specific blade sizes. Leo looks at his sashimi knives, realizing their potential is now unlocked. With his new power, Leo feels ready to take on the world. Leo relaxes in his room, feeling good after his recent level up. Suddenly, he hears a strange noise coming from his front door. Leo walks over and opens the door to see who is there. He finds a red-haired girl standing nervously in the hallway. She looks flustered and apologizes for interrupting his private time. Leo stays friendly and waits for her to explain her visit. The girl mumbles, trying to ask him a question about food. Leo smiles, admitting he loves when others cook for him. She continues to look shy while standing in his doorway. She awkwardly suggests they go grab some ingredients together soon. Leo listens, but then his friend Geomma suddenly appears behind him. Geomma laughs and tells the girl he will handle the cooking instead. Night falls over the academy as Leo and his friends prepare for dinner. Leo chats with a red-haired girl while they finish their meal together. The table is cleared and everything is left clean after their dinner. Leo tells the girl that he is a professional when it comes to fish. The girl watches Leo curiously as he prepares to show off his skills. Leo suddenly feels hesitant about using his special equipment for cooking. He stares at the kitchen knife, realizing it is not meant for food. Leo explains that he uses these blades as his primary weapon in battle. The girl suddenly calls out to Geomma, interrupting Leo's explanation. Geomma appears, playfully brandishing a glowing sword as if it were a kitchen tool. Leo watches in shock as she prepares to cut ingredients with her weapon. Leo quickly changes his mind and decides a regular kitchen knife is better. Leo stares at the blade, feeling stressed about using a real sword for cooking. He decides to show off his skills and promises to finish the task quickly. Leo uses his sharp kitchen knife to slice through the fish with incredible speed. He activates a special skill to ensure the process is smooth and painless. Leo stays focused while the girl watches him work with great interest. The fish is perfectly prepared in just a few moments. His culinary technique is truly on another level. A single, clean slice completes the impressive display. Leo looks proud of his work while the girl enjoys her meal. Leo gives a confident smirk, clearly enjoying his time in the kitchen. The girl asks about his skills, and Leo reveals his secret background in cooking. The girl is stunned that Leo learned such high-level skills from a simple part-time job. Leo just smiles, keeping his mysterious past to himself for now. She nods along, clearly impressed by everything he just showed her. She is totally amazed by the incredible meal he just prepared. Leo watches calmly while she heads over to the sink to clean up. Leo looks out the window, quietly admiring the view of the moon. Suddenly, a loud crashing sound echoes through the quiet kitchen. Leo winces, realizing something must have gone wrong with the dishes. More clattering sounds follow as plates hit the floor and break. Leo chuckles to himself, guessing she has never washed dishes in her life. He turns around quickly after hearing something heavy drop onto his desk. Leo looks concerned, wondering what else could possibly go wrong tonight. Leo looks at the notebook and decides to put it back where it belongs. He flips through the pages and finds strange, repetitive writing inside. Leo smiles, thinking the obsessive notes are actually quite adorable. Suddenly, a dark and intense vision fills his mind with haunting words. The eerie messages repeat over and over, shaking Leo to his core. The calm atmosphere shatters as the intense pressure takes over the room. The red-haired girl draws her sword, desperate to survive the sudden threat. The story shifts to explain how powerful groups maintain their control over society. These powerful figures often abuse their authority to crush those beneath them. We learn about the mysterious Auditora family, who operate from the shadows. They act as secret assassins, claiming to preserve order for the greater good. Children in the family undergo brutal mental training from a very young age. A young boy is tied to a tree, trapped by his own family. His eyes widen in shock as he faces his grim reality. An older man looms over him, preparing him for a cruel lesson. The boy is forced to hold a sword under strict supervision. The blade strikes, leaving a bloody mess behind on the ground. The child trembles, holding the weapon with shaking, blood-stained hands. The girl is identified as Chloe, a member of the Auditora clan. She stands back-to-back with her mentor, ready for her next assignment. Chloe simply accepts the dark path laid out before her. She pulls on a mask, hiding her emotions behind a cold exterior. Her shadow looms large as she embraces her role as an assassin. Eventually, Chloe leaves her past behind to attend the academy. Leo stands in the shadows, feeling the intense and dark aura radiating from Chloe. The dark energy around her pulses with a menacing and heavy weight. A glowing, ominous word appears in the air, shifting the tension in the room. Blank. True Leo forces a nervous smile, trying to lighten the heavy atmosphere between them. Chloe stares at him blankly, her expression unreadable and filled with hidden intensity. She wears strange gloves covered in small, white, crusty spots. Leo scratches his head, clearly feeling awkward and out of his depth. He thinks to himself that he has really gotten into a messy situation. Leo gulps hard, trying to stay calm as he faces her intense gaze. He nervously asks Chloe if she thinks she looks pretty today, hoping for a reaction. Chloe remains silent and stoic, leaving Leo to awkwardly try and keep the conversation going. Leo tries to lighten the mood with a friendly, nervous smile. Chloe ignores him and pulls on her gloves with a cold expression. Leo notices a mysterious item glowing on the nearby desk. He tries to start a conversation about her intense hobbies. Chloe remains completely silent, making Leo feel very awkward. The atmosphere in the room grows heavy and tense between them. Suddenly, a sharp metallic sound echoes through the room. Chloe draws a sharp blade, her eyes glowing with intensity. Leo is shocked by her sudden and aggressive display of power. Panicked, a glowing blade suddenly appears, slicing through the darkness. The red-haired girl walks forward, radiating a dark and dangerous aura. She draws her glowing sword, her footsteps heavy and menacing. Leo realizes with horror that he is facing a lethal threat. Her intense eyes lock onto her target with terrifying focus. Leo recognizes the girl's unstable and dangerous Yandere nature. She happily cheers for Geomma, showing her twisted obsession. Leo watches in shock, completely stunned by this unexpected confrontation. Leo stands face to face with the mysterious girl holding a glowing sword. Leo realizes her intense bloodlust is even scarier than the dangerous Mao brothers. He desperately needs a weapon to defend himself against her sudden attack. Leo realizes he only has 9 seconds left to survive this encounter. He spots a sharp knife sitting on a nearby wooden cutting board. The girl prepares to strike with her glowing blade in hand. Leo moves quickly to grab something to use for his defense. He spots a simple box cutter in his pencil holder. The girl lunges forward, ready to strike Leo with her powerful sword. Leo watches in terror as she closes the distance between them. Reacting instantly, Leo snaps the box cutter open to defend himself. With no other choice, Leo prepares to fight back with his tiny blade. Leo gains a massive boost to his mental state through his quick thinking. A system message warns that his presence will now feel much more intimidating. He activates a powerful skill known as the Blessing of the Blade God. Leo strikes with incredible speed and power, cutting through the air itself. A divine blessing washes over the scene as Leo prepares for his next move. The mysterious girl finds herself completely overwhelmed by his sudden change in aura. Leo channels his focused energy into a precise and dangerous combat stance. He addresses the girl calmly, calling out to her by the name Chloe. He makes a chilling comment about her hair length, showing no fear at all. The intense clash of their powers leaves bright streaks of light across the room. Chloe stands stunned as the situation takes a strange and unexpected turn tonight. The intense confrontation ends, leaving everyone to rest before the next challenge begins. Ruby wakes up in the middle of the night, feeling very confused and dazed. She sits up in her bed, trying to remember what just happened to her. She looks toward the window and spots Leo standing there, calm and collected. Ruby gasps in shock as the memories of their intense encounter flood back. She turns her gaze toward her sword, which is standing upright nearby. She lets out a shaky breath, still processing the strange events of the evening. In her mind, she sees a mysterious old man telling her not to overthink things. She keeps staring at her sword, feeling completely overwhelmed by her own emotions. Frustrated and embarrassed, she buries her face into her pillow with a loud thud. She lets out a frustrated hiss, steam practically rising from her flustered head. Ruby hides behind her pillow, her face bright red as she tries to recover. Suddenly, she notices a small utility knife lying on the floor and feels puzzled. Ruby sits alone, lost in her thoughts about Leo. She wonders why she feels so strange and distracted. Ruby notices the room is perfectly clean and tidy. She blushes, realizing how much she likes him. Ruby starts writing in her diary with a happy smile. Outside, Leo is struggling in the dark night. He suddenly vomits a bright, glowing rainbow liquid. A message appears, saying his blessing has worn off. Leo feels sick and tries to hold it back. He cannot stop himself from getting sick again. Leo collapses on a bench, completely exhausted and drained. Leo reflects on his humble beginnings, wielding nothing but a simple sashimi knife. Alone on a bench, Leo feels the weight of his fading power. He recalls the radiant blessing of miracle that once empowered him. A mysterious figure watches, representing the path the protagonist should have taken. A voice from the past reminds him of his ultimate duty, defeat the Demon King. He compares himself to legendary heroes who wielded powerful blades like Balmong. Meanwhile, he is stuck with his basic, low-ranked sashimi knife. Leo slaps his own face, trying to snap out of his spiral of doubt. He realizes that life at the academy has distracted him from his true purpose. Looking at the night sky, he admits he had many reasons to give up. He feels frustrated by his limited knowledge of this complicated world. He knows the protagonist should have already awakened his blessing to begin the mission. Leo feels a deep sense of regret for ever walking away from the game. He stares at the path ahead, torn between a quiet life or a dangerous destiny. Leo looks out from the academy, his mind heavy with the weight of the future. He witnesses a terrifying vision of demons descending upon the world. The horrifying image of the demon lord looms over his thoughts. He sees his friends caught in the middle of a looming, dark catastrophe. Leo looks at his device, shocked by how much the game's story has changed. He realizes that a massive war is coming, and he cannot avoid it. With nearly 3 years left, Leo knows he must stop wasting his time. He decides to face reality head-on, determined not to let himself die. Standing under the night sky, he commits to finding the strength he needs. Leo prepares to make his next move on the board like a true strategist. Leo activates his special ability, known as the Blessing of the Blade God. His system interface displays new stat improvements and a unique blade restriction. Leo realizes the power is strong, but he notices something is still missing. He thinks deeply about the strange requirements needed to fully unlock his potential. The system continues to show his current progress and active blessing effects. Leo taps the screen to try and unlock more information about his powers. A sharp warning sound suddenly interrupts his progress. The system denies his request because he has not met the necessary conditions. Leo sighs, realizing his new powers are a complicated puzzle to solve. He remembers another ability, the Blessing of Painlessness, which helps him endure damage. Leo checks his phone calendar to prepare for the upcoming academy midterms. He prepares himself for the challenges ahead, both academic and physical. Leo analyzes a powerful B-tier sword he just unlocked. He hopes this weapon will stay useful until his academy graduation. Leo stands outside, feeling focused and ready for his next challenge. Suddenly, he notices someone standing in the shadows nearby. It is a mysterious girl with teal hair watching him closely. She approaches Leo under the bright light of the full moon. She reveals a high-quality sword, showing off her impressive gear. Leo is surprised by her sudden and unexpected appearance. The girl looks nervous as she stares directly at Leo. Leo looks back at her, completely confused by the strange encounter. They stand together on a bench, surrounded by an awkward silence. The teal-haired girl finally speaks up, demanding an explanation from him. Leo felt nervous as he sat on the bench, trying to keep his distance. The mysterious girl didn't want him to leave and told him to just move over. Leo cautiously peeked at her, unsure of what she wanted from him. She seemed flustered and breathed a sigh of relief while adjusting her clothes. Leo gulped, feeling the awkward tension growing between them in the moonlight. He suddenly jolted in his seat, completely caught off guard by her presence. They sat in silence for a moment, neither of them knowing what to say next. Leo looked at her with a worried expression, wondering if she was dangerous. She sat confidently next to him with her sword resting right on the bench. She leaned in closer, looking at Leo with a strange, intense gleam in her eyes. With a smirk, she continued to stare him down, making him feel even more uncomfortable. Leo could only stare back, sweating as he waited for her next move. The teal-haired girl sets her sword down with a loud clack on the bench. She gives Leo a sharp, intimidating look that makes him feel completely trapped. Leo sits stiffly, feeling very nervous about what she might do next. The girl pouts, clearly unhappy that Leo is not reacting the way she wants. Leo keeps his eyes forward, trying his best to ignore her intense presence. She continues to stare him down, refusing to let the awkward silence break. She leans in closer, making the space between them feel even smaller. Suddenly, a mysterious blonde boy arrives, marking the arrival of a hero. Leo remains stuck on the bench while the girl continues her silent pressure. Her golden eyes lock onto Leo, keeping him firmly in place. The tension is thick as she stays right beside him on the bench. Leo looks shocked and overwhelmed by the unexpected turn of events. Leo keeps the conversation going with a simple answer. The teal-haired girl remains cold, still keeping him trapped on the bench. She stares at him intensely, making the situation even more awkward. She questions if they even need to know each other's names. She teases him by suggesting he might actually be a spy. Leo thinks that is completely ridiculous while she adjusts her gear. She claims she was just doing a workout, and Leo says he was too. Leo lies and says he was just practicing his breathing exercises. The girl looks confused by his strange and sudden excuse. She points a finger at him, making Leo flinch in surprise. She suddenly stands up from the bench, leaving Leo alone. An awkward silence hangs in the air as they both sit there. Leo and the teal-haired girl sit quietly together on a dark park bench. She explains the intense pressure to be perfect at their elite academy. She warns that making even one small mistake will make you a target. Leo listens as she talks about the harsh reality of her daily life. Suddenly, she lets out a small, unexpected laugh at the situation. She confesses that being this open with Leo feels strangely liberating. Leo stares at her, completely confused by her sudden mood shift. He is so shocked by her words that he accidentally spits out his drink. She yells about being humiliated after finding out those people weren't even in her class. She looks at Leo with a strange, intense gleam in her eyes. Leo remains frozen, unsure how to handle her sudden emotional outburst. She leans in closer, clearly having more to say to him. Leo listens as the girl continues to open up about her feelings. She takes a moment to stretch while Leo watches her silently. The girl suddenly decides to end their conversation and says goodbye. Leo stays quiet, watching her as she walks away from him. He firmly decides that he is not going to follow her. The next day, Leo sits inside a busy and loud lecture hall. He stays focused on his own book while the class chatters around him. Leo suddenly feels nervous when he hears people talking about him nearby. A red-haired student sneers, mocking the idea of a special new student. The lecture hall is filled with students working at their desks. Leo feels a sense of relief that he is in a lower-tier class. He relaxes and starts thinking about what he wants to eat for dinner. The teal-haired girl shows Leo a special faculty card she earned as a top student. Leo looks at the sleek black card and realizes how much power it holds. He holds the card firmly, ready to use his new status to his advantage. Leo gives a confident, knowing smirk as he plans his next move. The scene shifts to a grand view of the prestigious academy grounds. A lecture is underway, focusing on the legendary hero Valor Joaquin. The professor draws a portrait of the hero on the chalkboard for the class. Leo rests his head on his desk, looking bored during the history lesson. A close-up of the drawing shows the intense face of the legendary hero. A sudden, dark energy flares up as the story takes a violent turn. A fierce, brutal battle begins between powerful fighters in the academy. The academy campus stands quiet, hiding the intense conflict happening within its walls. The class continues their boring history lesson about the long war between two races. Students whisper and joke, completely uninterested in the serious history lecture. The teacher looks on with a mysterious and knowing smile. Leo watches the scene unfold, his expression serious and deep in thought. The teacher leans in and jokingly suggests they just run away together. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts to a dark and violent vision of the teacher. She appears in a nightmare-like scene, floating under a dark, eclipsed sun. She is shown covered in blood, appearing to have been defeated in battle. Leo looks at a screen showing her tragic fate in an online record. Leo stares at the screen, shocked that this is how she really dies. The class abruptly ends, and the students start packing up their things. The room erupts into chaos as the students react to some shocking news. Leo's classmate rushes over and asks him to join the rest of the group. Leo looks shocked as he realizes something important is about to happen. He checks his phone and sees a picture of his teacher on the screen. The other students are buzzing with excitement as they hurry toward the classroom. Everyone is whispering in surprise while Leo tries to process the sudden commotion. Leo and his classmates stare in disbelief at the person walking toward them. A mysterious blonde student walks through the hall, grabbing everyone's attention immediately. The handsome student continues his stride, looking calm and confident in the bright light. Leo prepares for special training to help him break free from a divine curse. The students are completely captivated by the newcomer's charm and striking good looks. Leo tries to keep his thoughts wholesome despite the mature nature of the situation. He reviews his digital cards, featuring powerful figures like Rachel and Saki. Leo analyzes a powerful new hero card featuring a mysterious girl from a noble family. Meanwhile, a charismatic new student walks down the hallway, drawing a crowd of students. The newcomer flashes a charming smile that seems to captivate everyone around him instantly. A classmate approaches the popular student with a look of pure admiration and excitement. Leo watches silently, remembering his own difficult past and his exhaustion from previous battles. He recalls a painful failure in a high-stakes training scenario that still haunts him. The handsome new student continues to greet his growing number of fans with ease. His friendly expression shifts slightly, revealing a sharper, more calculating look in his eyes. Leo observes the scene from a distance, feeling completely shocked by the sudden attention. The student turns back to his admirers, flashing another bright and winning smile. The crowd follows the newcomer closely, leaving Leo alone to process the strange situation. Leo realizes he must keep his guard up, even if everyone else is fooled. Leo turns around after hearing someone approach him while he is practicing alone. The scene shifts to the quiet academy training hall late at night. Leo is hard at work, swinging his wooden training sword with intense focus. He takes a quick break to catch his breath after his exhausting training session. Suddenly, a nervous voice breaks the silence, asking Leo if she interrupted something important. Leo turns to find a mysterious red-haired girl standing awkwardly behind him. Leo gives her a slightly suspicious look, wondering why she is here so late. He quickly brushes it off, telling her that everything is perfectly fine. The girl seems relieved, but Leo remains curious about who she really is. He senses a deep, lingering sorrow radiating from her hidden blade. Leo feels the girl is pleading for help, but her deadly aura is terrifying. The nervous girl, Chloe, approaches Leo and fidgets while calling his name. Chloe shyly asks Leo if she can cook dinner for him tonight. She admits her cooking skills are not as good as his, but she really wants to try. Leo is shocked and wonders if she is actually asking him out to dinner. He stays silent for a moment, trying to process her unexpected request. Chloe looks at him with intense, desperate eyes, waiting for his answer. Leo is afraid to reject her, but he worries that accepting might lead to his doom. Leo politely declines the dinner offer and asks Chloe for a different favor instead. Chloe is surprised by the change, but Leo insists she is the only person who can help. Flattered and curious, Chloe asks Leo what kind of favor he needs from her. Leo awkwardly scratches his head, preparing to explain the strange task to her. Leo grips his training sword tightly, trying to stay calm and focused. He checks his phone for advice on how to handle dangerous, obsessed girls. Chloe appears, looking way too happy as she approaches him with her sword. Leo forces a polite greeting to keep the situation from turning bad. Chloe beams with a bright, intense smile that makes Leo even more nervous. She giggles playfully while Leo tries his best to maintain his composure. Leo stares at her, his eyes wide as he carefully studies her every move. Chloe stands ready, showing off her impressive physical condition and sword. Leo compliments her appearance to keep the mood light and non-threatening. Chloe looks down at the sword in her hands, seemingly surprised by his comment. Leo keeps his distance, acting friendly while his brain races with survival tactics. Chloe lets out a creepy laugh, leaving Leo terrified by her sudden change in mood. Chloe grips her wooden training sword tightly, her eyes locked onto Leo with intense focus. She swings the sword with incredible speed, creating a powerful gust of wind. The strike hits the ground near Leo, cracking the floor with sheer force. Leo watches in shock as he realizes how dangerous Chloe's training can actually be. A mysterious status screen suddenly appears before Leo, showing his new combat stats. He studies the screen carefully, trying to understand his new ability and its limitations. Leo stares at the system interface, analyzing the strange requirements for his power. The notification highlights a low synchronization rate, leaving Leo feeling even more confused. He reads the specific size requirements needed to activate the powerful sword blessing. Chloe watches Leo closely while he mumbles, wondering what he is looking at. She leans in to get a better look at his strange, distracted behavior. Leo realizes he is the only one who can see these mysterious system messages. Leo nervously agrees to practice with Chloe in the training hall. He tightens his grip on the wooden practice sword, feeling very anxious. Leo tries to stay calm while preparing for their intense sparring match. Their wooden swords collide with a sharp clacking sound in the air. The two students face each other, ready to begin their serious training. Leo focuses his eyes intently on his opponent, looking for an opening. Another loud clack echoes as their weapons strike each other again. Chloe moves with incredible speed, swinging her sword with terrifying power. The force of her movement kicks up dust from the stone floor. Leo closes his eyes for a split second, concentrating on his senses. He blinks and suddenly sees the world in a completely different way. Leo is shocked as he realizes his new power is finally activating. Leo stands ready, but Chloe moves with incredible speed toward him. Her wooden sword swings down, and Leo realizes just how fast she is. The training swords clash together with a loud, ringing thwack. Chloe maintains her intense pressure as she attacks Leo again. Leo barely manages to block her strike with his own weapon. His eyes widen in shock at her overwhelming speed and power. Chloe quickly resets her grip, ready to launch another lightning-fast strike. She slashes through the air, forcing Leo to stay on the defensive. Another loud thwack echoes as their wooden swords collide once more. Leo is pushed back, struggling to keep his guard up against her. They stand locked in a tense standoff, both breathing heavily from exertion. The impact sends a sharp jolt of pain through Leo's arms. Leo struggles to hold his guard as the relentless training continues. Chloe leaps into the air, launching a sudden and powerful attack. Leo barely blocks the strike, shocked by how fast she has become. His eyes widen in disbelief as he realizes he cannot keep up. The wooden swords clash repeatedly, creating a flurry of intense motion. Another heavy blow lands against Leo, shaking his entire body. The wood of his training sword begins to splinter under the pressure. Leo desperately slides his feet to maintain his balance during the assault. Chloe surrounds him with rapid, blurring strikes from every single angle. Leo is forced to parry another massive blow with all his might. He realizes the sheer weight of her strikes could easily defeat him. With a loud sound, his wooden sword finally cracks under the strain. Leo swings his wooden sword with all his might, but the weapon finally snaps. The broken blade leaves Leo defenseless as Chloe continues her relentless assault. The pieces of the wooden sword clatter to the ground, ending the duel. Chloe stops, looking worried because she did not mean to break his sword. A strange, ominous rumbling begins to shake the training grounds around them. Leo's eyes widen as a mysterious and dark energy begins to surge. A digital message appears, stating that his armament condition has been successfully met. A system error flashes red, signaling that the equipment has been damaged. The system begins to force a change in Leo's personality to regain control. A powerful, chilling aura explodes outward from Leo's body. Leo stands in the center of the energy, his presence becoming cold and dangerous. The system announces that the blessing of the Blade God has been activated. The screen glitches as a dark and mysterious energy takes over. Leo looks intense with a terrifying, new aura surrounding him. He holds a sharp blade, ready to strike with lethal precision. Leo is consumed by the dark power known as the evil within. Chloe watches in shock as Leo undergoes this frightening transformation. Leo moves forward, surrounded by a swirling storm of dark energy. His eyes glow with a menacing light as he prepares to fight. Suddenly, a bright flash transports Leo into a strange, digital space. Leo, now acting like a chef named Kim, wonders where he is. He finds himself in a kitchen and thinks he was just dreaming. Kim remembers he was supposed to be preparing a fresh fish. He decides to test his skills by using a heavy meat cleaver. Kim tries to select an item, but the system shows an error message. He decides to pick a different sword for his task instead. The system immediately rejects his new choice with another error notification. Kim gets frustrated and demands to know who is controlling the system. He realizes the only option left is to use a sashimi knife. The system tells him the knife is perfect for ending Chloe's life. Kim notes that holding the sashimi knife usually causes him pain. To his surprise, he feels no pain and actually feels great. Blank. True mysterious strings appear, revealing that Kim is being controlled like a puppet. Controlled by the unseen force, Kim prepares to create a deadly masterpiece. A dark skill called Inferior has been activated to seal his fate. The screen flickers as the mysterious system takes control of Kim's body. Kim stands ready, his eyes glowing with a dark and dangerous power. The title card flashes as the intense battle is about to begin. Ruby looks at Kim with deep concern, wondering if he is okay. Kim wobbles unsteadily as the strange force pulls him into action. He lunges forward with incredible speed, his blade glowing bright blue. The air explodes with energy as he releases a powerful strike. A brilliant flash of light fills the room during his aggressive attack. Geomma desperately blocks Kim's strike, struggling to hold back the force. The two clash violently, their weapons colliding with a loud crash. Geomma fights to hold her ground against the puppet-like assault. Kim steps forward with heavy, thumping footsteps, not stopping his relentless advance. A powerful strike tears through the air as Kim attacks with terrifying speed. Kim lunges forward, his movements controlled by an overwhelming and dark force. He lands on the ground, surrounded by a swirling vortex of intense energy. Geomma barely manages to dodge the brutal assault, feeling the heat of the blade. The impact of Kim's strike sends Geomma flying across the training arena. Geomma stares in shock as Kim's eyes glow with a strange, unnatural light. She realizes that the person standing before her is no longer the Kim she knew. Kim leaps into the air again, preparing to strike with even greater force. He slams his weapon down, shattering the floor with a deafening boom. Geomma hits the ground hard, struggling to stay upright under the intense pressure. Kim stands over her, his breathing heavy as the dark energy continues to surge. Geomma trembles in fear, desperately wondering how to stop this nightmare. Geomma coughs, struggling to catch her breath while under heavy pressure. Kim lunges forward with incredible speed, his eyes glowing with dangerous energy. He looms over Geomma, his massive hand reaching out to strike her. Geomma winces in pain, bracing herself for the next powerful impact. A blinding light erupts as Kim prepares a devastating, final attack. His hand descends like a meteor, ready to crush everything in its path. Geomma cries out in desperation, trying to dodge the overwhelming assault. The intense situation reaches a breaking point as Geomma faces her doom. Inside his mind, Kim is confused by his own strange, violent actions. He wonders why his target is so hard to hit with his blade. He continues his frantic chopping, unable to see the person he is attacking. Kim remains frustrated, completely unaware that he is hurting his own friend. Kim is still lost in his hallucination, believing he must slice the fish before him. He hears a strange, muffled sound coming from the fish and feels confused. Kim struggles to remember a name, his mind flickering between reality and his nightmare. He tries to speak, but the name is barely escaping his lips as he prepares to strike. Suddenly, a spark of recognition hits Kim as he realizes who he really is. The dark, distorted world begins to shift as Kim stands frozen in place. He remains gripped by his trance, his hand still holding the sharp blade tightly. A desperate cry rings out, finally cutting through the thick fog in Kim's mind. Geomma stands before him, injured and pleading for him to stop this madness. She screams for him to come to his senses and finally calls out to him. The sound of her voice forces Kim's eyes to widen as the truth breaks through. Kim drops his weapon, the loud thud signaling the end of his dangerous hallucination. Kim lunges forward, his weapon raised high, ready to strike Geomma. Geomma looks up, tears streaming down her face as she faces him. Kim's weapon finally strikes, but it is not a lethal blow. Kim stares at Geomma, the violent trance finally fading from his eyes. He stands frozen, realizing what he almost did in his confusion. Kim drops his weapon, his hand trembling as he comes back to reality. Geomma whispers his name, her voice shaking with relief and lingering fear. Kim gives a weak, shaky wave, looking lost as he turns away. He walks toward the exit, leaving Geomma alone in the quiet hall. Outside, the sky rumbles with dark, ominous clouds as tension builds. Geomma walks through the dark, thinking back on the strange events lately. She reflects on the class placement, still haunted by the memory of Kim's rage. A dark and jagged red aura fills the air, signaling danger. Kim's broken wooden sword lies discarded on the cold ground. Geomma walks slowly, still reeling from Kim's sudden, violent display. She stops in her tracks, her eyes wide with shock. Standing in the shadows, a mysterious young man calls out to her. The boy identifies himself as Nox, a student from the ordinary class. Geomma stares at him, surprised by this unexpected encounter. Nox adjusts his mask, his expression unreadable and cold. He warns her to stay away from the dangerous situation ahead. Geomma listens intently as Nox continues his grim warning. She remains silent, processing the gravity of his words. Geomma lowers her head, lost in deep and troubled thought. Geomma watches as the mysterious student, Nox, steps out from the shadows. Nox moves closer with an intense and focused look in his eyes. He stares directly at Geomma, his face partially hidden by a mask. Suddenly, the scene shifts to a young man standing with a sharp blade. Different types of knives appear on a screen, hinting at a dangerous skill. The young man grips his weapon tightly while surrounded by dark energy. He feels a terrifying curse pulling his limbs like a helpless puppet. The invisible strings force him to move against his own free will. His expression turns cold as the influence of the curse takes over. He finally surrenders to the dark power that is consuming his mind. Caught in the strings, he becomes a tool for an unknown master. Geomma struggles to hold on as the situation grows increasingly dire and chaotic. A mysterious force shatters the reality surrounding our heroes. The memory of a powerful, dangerous ability flashes through the air. Chloe stands ready, her eyes glowing with an intense, haunting light. Nox recalls fleeing, desperate to suppress the terrifying power within him. Dark flames rise up as if something wicked is being summoned. A shadow looms over the scene, hiding a grim and unknown face. Nox stares ahead, his expression cold and deeply troubled by the events. A sudden storm rumbles above the dark academy building. A loud boom echoes through the halls, shaking the very foundation. Nox struggles to stay steady as he walks through the unstable corridor. He looks up, feeling the heavy weight of the approaching threat. Something demonic tears through the barrier, breaking into the world. A terrifying, shadowy creature with glowing energy begins to manifest. Nox feels the heavy weight of a curse trying to consume him. Nox stands face to face with a mysterious student in a mask. Inside the crowded academy lecture hall, students chat among themselves. A girl with purple hair smiles while talking to her red-haired friend. The red-haired girl stares ahead with a deep, focused expression. She sits quietly in the classroom, lost in her own thoughts. She realizes that she never even exchanged contact information with him. She recalls a moment standing alone outside a closed door. She watches Nox from across the room during the lecture. She finds herself admiring him more and more every single day. Two large students approach Nox and the red-haired girl in the hall. A mysterious red-haired girl stares into the distance, whispering that she misses someone. The next day at the academy begins with a gloomy, overcast sky. Inside the classroom, a strict teacher demands total silence from all the students. The classroom door suddenly creaks open, drawing everyone's attention to the entrance. The angry teacher shouts, demanding to know who dared to interrupt his lecture. The students watch in anticipation as a figure walks down the long stairs. A pair of polished boots steps firmly onto the wooden classroom floor. The mysterious student continues their slow, steady walk toward the front of the room. The red-haired girl watches intently as the new student makes a dramatic entrance. Nox calmly walks down the stairs and gives a respectful bow to the teacher. The other students whisper among themselves, curious about the newcomer's strange appearance. Nox stands silently with a cold, intense look in his eyes, ignoring the gossip. Nox encounters a red-haired girl in the hallway, and she nervously tries to start a conversation. She calls out to him, looking concerned about his recent behavior at the academy. Nox stops to listen as she tentatively asks if he is doing all right. She wonders if their recent training session caused him some kind of hidden trouble. Nox remains calm and composed, though his expression stays serious and difficult to read. He stands tall, maintaining his distance while the girl waits for his response. The girl feels her heart racing, clearly feeling flustered by his intense presence. She starts to doubt herself, wondering if she said something wrong to him. Nox reflects on the intense pain of his curse, which feels unlike anything he has known. The dark energy flares up, serving as a painful reminder of the burden he carries. Stuttering, the girl tries to find the right words to continue their awkward talk. She asks if he wants to train again today, hoping to reconnect with him. The girl is shocked and excited when Nox suggests they go to dinner together. She is thrilled and happy to spend more time with him after training. She eagerly asks Nox what kind of food he enjoys eating for dinner. Nox tries to respond, but he is clearly distracted by his intense pain. His dark curse flares up, causing a strange, crackling energy to surround him. Nox struggles to keep his composure while the girl remains unaware of his suffering. A sudden, mysterious sound echoes nearby, catching both of their attention immediately. Nox looks around, his expression hardening as he senses someone watching them closely. A mysterious masked figure lurks in the shadows, observing the pair from afar. The stranger smirks, clearly plotting something sinister involving the two students. Nox senses the danger, and the girl looks on, feeling a sudden, chilling dread. The heavy atmosphere signals that their peaceful dinner plans are about to change. Nox and the red-haired student have a tense, silent exchange. Nox stares back, feeling uneasy about the situation. Suddenly, a mysterious man with red hair walks toward them. Nox and the masked newcomer lock eyes in the hallway. The masked man tells Nox to stop hiding and just speak. Nox notices the strange, glowing red eyes of the stranger. Nox wonders what is wrong with the man's unnatural eyes. The red-haired girl tries to pull Nox away from the man. She demands to know what Nox is doing with him. The man's red eyes glow intensely in the dark. The masked man claims he does not care about their business. The girl remains angry and defensive while facing the stranger. Nox feels the heavy, dangerous pressure radiating from the mysterious duo. The masked man coldly orders his companion to abandon the commoner. He stares down Nox with intense, glowing red eyes and pure malice. The girl beside him tries to hold him back, feeling the tension. She fiercely protects her friend and warns the man to back off. The masked man is shocked by her sudden, intense burst of bloodlust. Nox is relieved that the hallway is empty while this chaos unfolds. Nox suddenly realizes exactly who these two dangerous people really are. He remembers the rumors about assassins who specialize in silent, deadly infiltration. They belong to the elite Auditora family, masters of covert operations. The Auditora family raises their children to be perfect, lethal killing machines. Nox wonders why such strange, powerful people are acting this way here. Nox realizes the assassin is a cold-blooded killer who views murder as natural. He remembers the violent fate of those who crossed paths with these dangerous experts. Nox stands face-to-face with the tense and battle-worn pair from the clan. The red-haired assassin grit her teeth, showing the physical toll of their recent fight. Her past is filled with tragedy, forced into a life of violence since birth. She stands alone, looking shaken but ready to continue her grim mission. Nox observes her situation, feeling a dark sense of pity for her fate. Nox smiles to himself, questioning his own strange interest in their dark affairs. He steps forward, demanding to have a serious conversation with the mysterious man. The red-haired man remains silent, keeping his guard up while listening to Nox. The man finally speaks, ordering Nox to follow him into the shadows. Nox moves to follow them, curious to see where this dangerous path leads. An instructor sits in the faculty room, looking concerned about the recent events. He worries that something terrible has happened to Geomma during the chaos. A girl with teal hair rushes in to speak with the instructor about the situation. The instructor listens intently as the girl shares urgent information with him. He makes a quick phone call to investigate what is really going on. The instructor is shocked to hear about a secret subspace battle taking place. The person on the other end confirms that Geomma and Nox are the participants. The instructor is stunned and struggles to process this unexpected development. Geomma stands ready in the arena, preparing for an intense fight to the finish. The battle begins as the two fighters enter the mysterious subspace area. A digital screen officially marks the start of the battle between the two students. Nox prepares for a long and difficult duel as the timer begins to count. The woman advises Geomma to be extremely careful in this dangerous match. She continues to warn him, stressing the importance of staying alert. Nox listens quietly as he prepares his mindset for the upcoming battle. The atmosphere is tense as the crowd outside watches the hidden arena. Nox sits down, feeling exhausted and questioning the purpose of this fight. A red-haired girl sobs uncontrollably, clearly worried about the outcome for Geomma. Nox pulls out a small blade and confidently declares that he will win. They sit in silence for a moment, the tension in the room heavy. The girl speaks up, firmly believing that her brother is incredibly strong. Nox remains silent, simply observing her as she talks about her brother. She boasts that her brother is the greatest genius in the Auditora family. Nox stares back with a serious expression, keeping his own thoughts hidden away. Nox realizes that his path in life has always been set in stone. Geomma taunts Nox, claiming he is destined to use blades forever. Nox stays calm while sitting with the red-haired girl in the room. Nox stands up with his blade, telling her that everything will be okay. The red-haired girl looks at him with a worried and nervous expression. Nox turns his attention back to her, asking if she understands him. He pats her shoulder, reminding her that many geniuses exist in the world. Nox grips his glowing blade tightly as he prepares for the fight. The red-haired girl watches him with wide, shocked eyes in silence. Nox turns away, looking confident as he faces his next big challenge. He takes a firm step forward, ready to prove his true strength. The path ahead lights up as Nox walks toward his final confrontation. Nox steps through the bright entrance tunnel as loud cheers echo across the stadium. Nox shields his eyes from the bright sunlight, remaining completely calm and composed. The entire stadium roars with excitement as spectators eagerly await the upcoming duel. Nox stands in the center of the arena, firmly gripping his twin blades. Students cheer enthusiastically from the stands, thrilled to watch the match unfold. A white challenge glove flies through the air across the buzzing arena floor. Elite Academy students watch from their high seats, curious about Nox's unusual fighting style. The teal-haired girl stares down intently, watching Nox's every move with quiet focus. Nox's masked opponent glares furiously, insulted by Nox's apparent lack of respect. The rival loudly insults Nox's knives, calling them weak and unfit for battle. A powerful dark aura erupts around Nox as he prepares to show his real power. Nox senses the intense and dangerous bloodlust radiating from his masked opponent. Nox laughs off the insults, claiming a true master never blames their tools. The masked rival grows furious and prepares to strike back at Nox. A dark and heavy aura fills the air as the duel officially begins. The masked fighter draws his powerful, glowing S-rank blade, the Crimson Edge. He threatens to cut Nox down with his superior weapon and combat skills. Nox remains calm, recognizing the high quality of his rival's expensive gear. The rival wields two S-rank Crimson Edge blades that shine with deadly power. He even uses a special technique called the Blessing of the Crow. Nox stands ready, seemingly unfazed by his opponent's flashy display of strength. In contrast, Nox holds his simple, humble sashimi knife and a rose-themed blade. The arena lights up as the two fighters prepare to clash in combat. The masked fighter stares intensely as the duel begins. The students in the stands watch the arena with wide eyes. A powerful blue light erupts, signaling the start of the match. Both fighters dash forward with incredible, blinding speed. Nox and his masked opponent charge at each other, blades ready. Nox activates special blessings to boost his fighting skills. He swings his simple blade with newfound strength and precision. Nox keeps his focus locked on his rival during the attack. The onlookers are stunned, unable to believe what they are seeing. The students realize this is no ordinary fight between losers. Clashing steel rings out as they trade fast, heavy blows. The intense battle continues with sparks flying everywhere. The masked rival glares with intense focus during the heated sword fight. Two students watch the duel from the sidelines, impressed by their speed. They are shocked because they always thought Nox was a weak student. The masked rival swings his blade with a loud, ringing sound of steel. Nox reacts instantly, dashing across the floor to avoid the heavy strike. The two fighters exchange another powerful blow, shaking the arena around them. A sharp, screeching energy erupts from the masked rival's glowing purple blade. He unleashes a flurry of rapid slashes, trying to overwhelm Nox completely. Nox stays calm, expertly dodging each incoming wave of dark energy. The floor cracks under the pressure of their intense magical power. The angry rival prepares to launch a much more dangerous final attack. He channels a deadly technique called the three-legged crow to finish Nox. The masked rival launches a powerful, dark energy strike at Nox. Nox watches the attack closely with a calm, focused expression. The strike explodes with massive force, shaking the entire arena. Nox narrowly avoids the devastating blast as it tears through the ground. The masked fighter shouts, convinced that he has finally trapped Nox. Nox moves with incredible speed, slicing through the air to escape. The rival is stunned, his eyes wide with shock at Nox's speed. Nox lands steadily, keeping his cool while his opponent struggles. The rival stares in disbelief, wondering how Nox dodged that attack. Nox remains composed, waiting for the rival to make another move. Students in the crowd assume the second-year student is winning the fight. A sharp-eyed observer realizes Nox is actually just avoiding the attacks. The masked fighter realizes Nox is far more dangerous than anyone expected. Nox pauses, admitting he has been relying too much on pure speed. He decides to switch tactics and prepare for a much heavier, decisive strike. Nox scoffs at his opponent, casually letting his kitchen knife slip away. The blade clatters to the floor, leaving the rival completely stunned and confused. The masked rival stares in disbelief, struggling to understand what Nox is planning. Blank. True Nox reveals a new, mysterious blade decorated with beautiful red roses. He grips the floral weapon firmly, ready to end the duel at last. The atmosphere in the arena shifts as the two fighters face off again. Nox takes a step forward, his intense aura vibrating through the entire floor. With a cold, focused gaze, Nox finally prepares to show his true power. The masked rival is furious and thinks Nox is mocking him. He shouts at Nox to show some respect. Nox grips his glowing, rose-patterned sword tightly. A dark and powerful aura erupts around Nox as he prepares to strike. Nox stares down his opponent with an intense, glowing gaze. Nox declares that nothing can survive his crimson edge. He swings his blade, shattering the very ground beneath them. The masked rival realizes he is in serious trouble as blood begins to spill. The sheer power of the attack leaves the rival completely overwhelmed. Nox stands ready, showing there is no escape from his technique. He moves with blinding speed to finish the duel. The rival is left in shock, unable to process what just happened. Nox moves so fast that his rival loses sight of him completely. A giant shockwave of wind and dust blasts across the whole arena. Nox instantly reappears surrounded by crackling blue lightning. The watching students stare in complete horror at what just happened. The blonde boy gapes in disbelief at Nox's incredible power. Nox keeps a cold, merciless glare locked onto his enemy. The masked rival stands frozen as his severed arm and sword hit the floor. Blinding sword slashes slice through the air at terrifying speed. Sharp energy trails crisscross across the dark arena floor. The masked fighter panics in pure horror as the attack approaches. Nox's deadly strike shreds straight through his opponent's defenses. A massive blast of energy erupts across the academy arena. The watching students look on in pure shock and fear. The defeated assassin collapses to the ground in total defeat. Nox stands tall, his glowing blade humming with intense power. He calmly sheathes his sword with a sharp, echoing click. The other students stare at him, unable to process what happened. Nox ignores the whispers and stares from the crowd around him. He scratches his head, feeling that the reaction was expected. Nox thinks to himself about the true nature of his blade. He knows this knife was originally forged for slicing fish. He looms over the fallen fighter, his expression cold and calm. Nox stands in the arena, his eyes intense, and his breathing heavy after the fight. The crowd watches in total silence as Nox turns to leave the arena floor. Nox thinks to himself that his opponent never really stood a chance against him. The massive scoreboard officially declares Nox the winner of the intense duel. The clock shows Nox finished the entire fight in only 26 seconds. Whispers spread through the crowd as students cannot believe he defeated a senior. Nox walks away calmly, completely ignoring the noise and shock of the other students. A small, confident smile forms on his face as he contemplates his next move. Nox knows he has proven himself, but he realizes he must keep pushing forward. His steady footsteps echo through the arena as he exits the dueling grounds. The next day, students gather near the star class halls to gossip about him. They cannot stop talking about the unbelievable skill Nox showed in yesterday's match. Students in the classroom are whispering about the mysterious powerhouse named Geomma. A teal-haired girl sits quietly and listens to the rumors about him. She finally learns his name and contemplates his sudden rise in status. She is shocked by the news of his incredible battle performance. Her eyes widen as she recalls the details of the fight. She is deeply stunned by what she witnessed during the match. The memory of his skill flashes through her mind like a broken glass. She cannot believe he won that fight using only 2 kitchen knives. As a sword expert's granddaughter, she feels embarrassed by her own ignorance. She remembers a past conversation where she felt superior to others. She once bragged about wanting to crush the academy's top scorer. She laughed at a weak-looking boy while reciting her family's proud motto. The teal-haired girl is stunned to realize the top scorer is actually him. She sits at her desk, clearly shaken and struggling to process the news. She slams her desk in frustration, feeling like she acted like a complete fool. A blonde girl sitting nearby notices her strange behavior and looks on curiously. The blonde girl teases her, asking if something is going on with her. The teal-haired girl quickly snaps back, denying that anything is wrong at all. The blonde girl continues to poke fun, clearly suspecting she is hiding something. She keeps up the playful interrogation, making the situation even more awkward. The blonde girl keeps smiling, enjoying the reaction she is getting from her friend. The teal-haired girl is visibly flustered, caught off guard by the constant teasing. Her face turns bright red as the blonde girl continues to press her. The blonde girl laughs loudly, teasing her about having a secret crush. A blonde girl with an energetic personality confidently grabs someone's arm. They arrive at the entrance of the prestigious wolf class. The blonde girl pulls her nervous friend along, eager to enter the room. She strides forward with confidence, her movements attracting attention. Other students whisper as they recognize the academy's top 2 scorers. The blonde girl walks toward a desk, clearly enjoying the spotlight. She steps up onto the platform to make a grand entrance. Standing tall, she poses for the crowd of students watching her. She looks down, beaming with excitement and a playful attitude. Her eyes sparkle with heart-shaped pupils as she stares at someone. A student notices her intense stare and looks back, confused. She playfully winks and gives a finger salute, teasing her admirer. The teal-haired girl sighs in frustration while her classmates giggle at the awkward scene. The energetic blonde girl spots her target and gets excited with heart-shaped eyes. She sneaks up on Leo while he is resting at his desk. The girl grins mischievously as she prepares to mess with him. She strikes a confident pose, ready to cause some trouble in the classroom. She approaches Leo's seat, looking for a reaction from him. The girl next to Leo is completely shocked by the sudden intrusion. The blonde girl gets uncomfortably close to Leo's face. She blows air toward him, trying to wake him up or get his attention. Leo remains slumped over, seemingly unaware of the girl hovering over him. The girl looks on with wide, surprised eyes at the bold move. Everyone is stunned by the chaotic situation unfolding in the classroom. The blonde girl climbs directly onto the desk in front of Leo. Leo wakes up completely confused with drool still on his face. She leans close with a playful smile, boldly teasing him. The surrounding classmates watch the bold display in utter shock. She sits right on his desk and keeps talking teasingly. As she reaches out toward his face, Leo remains stunned. Suddenly, a furious voice interrupts and confronts the blonde girl. The red-haired girl grabs her wrist to stop her hand. She glares angrily, ready to defend Leo from the intruder. She fiercely demands to know who the blonde girl is. Holding her wrist firmly, she refuses to let her touch Leo. Gritting her teeth, the red-haired girl fumes with intense rage. The blonde girl stares at Leo with a strange, obsessive look in her eyes. Leo realizes the danger he felt was actually this girl, Chloe, approaching him. The red-haired girl steps in, but her personality has shifted into a dark, intense mode. She pulls out a sharp utility knife and coldly asks the intruder who she is. Leo watches, clearly worried about the sudden, violent change in her behavior. The red-haired girl, Rachel, grabs Chloe and demands to know why she is in her classroom. Chloe remains completely unfazed, keeping that same creepy, heart-filled smile on her face. Chloe coolly tells Rachel to listen while she is talking. Chloe reaches out and mockingly pats Rachel on the head like a child. Rachel's eyes glow as she grips her knife, clearly losing her patience with the intruder. Chloe ignores the threat and continues to act as if nothing is wrong. The tension snaps as Rachel prepares to strike with a deadly intent. Leo and the teal-haired girl watch in shock as the situation escalates. Chloe moves with incredible speed, catching everyone off guard. Her eyes glow with a strange, hypnotic pink heart symbol. A sudden, messy splash of red liquid sprays across the room. It turns out to be nothing more than a spilled carton of tomato juice. The tension in the classroom remains thick as the students look on. Chloe effortlessly grabs Rachel's hand, stopping her attack mid-strike. She squeezes Rachel's wrist hard, forcing her to drop her weapon. The teal-haired girl glares at Chloe with pure, burning frustration. Chloe remains calm while Rachel is sent flying through the air. Chloe follows through with a powerful movement, dominating the fight. Rachel looks up from the ground, stunned by Chloe's overwhelming strength. Chloe gracefully flips through the air after easily handling Rachel. She lands perfectly on her feet, while Rachel crashes to the floor. The other students watch in total shock at Chloe's incredible display. Chloe stretches calmly, acting like nothing intense just happened. She turns her attention to Leo with a strange, intense look. Leo stays stone-faced and denies that the girl is his friend. Rachel remains on the ground, surrounded by a dark and gloomy aura. Chloe continues to tease Leo, refusing to leave him alone. The classroom is filled with whispers as Chloe walks past the others. A teal-haired student watches the drama unfold with a worried expression. Leo stares back at Chloe, demanding to know why she is bothering him. Chloe just smiles, clearly enjoying the tension she has created. Chloe is completely flustered by the new girl's bold personality. The The blonde girl reminds Chloe that she was the one who initiated this encounter. Chloe shouts for everyone to stop, feeling overwhelmed by the sudden attention. The entire classroom watches the awkward confrontation with intense curiosity. Leo remains calm and tells Chloe to just leave if she is uncomfortable. Leo sighs, clearly just wanting to get some sleep instead of dealing with drama. The blonde girl finds Leo's cold, indifferent attitude incredibly amusing. She suddenly hugs Leo, claiming she has a soft spot for interesting guys. Leo starts sweating as the girl squeezes him tightly in front of everyone. Chloe loses her temper and lunges forward with a furious, loud scream. The blonde girl looks back, surprised by Chloe's sudden and aggressive outburst. The girl laughs off Chloe's challenge while Leo silently wishes he was anywhere else. The tension in the room reaches a breaking point as Chloe calls out to Rachel. A powerful magical aura radiates from the teal-haired girl as she confronts them. The blonde girl cheerfully says goodbye to Leo while he coldly tells her to leave. Leo remains annoyed as the two girls walk away, leaving the classroom in silence. As the girls exit, Leo sighs and tries to get some much-needed sleep. The teal-haired girl pauses and turns around, sensing something unusual in the air. Her sharp yellow eyes scan the room with a focused and intense gaze. She turns back toward Leo, who is still slumped over at his desk. She looks at him with a calm, mysterious expression on her face. Her gaze lingers for a moment, showing a hint of hidden curiosity. The teal-haired girl walks away as the story title appears on screen. The scene shifts to show Chloe still watching Leo from across the room. Chloe and the teal-haired girl walk together through the sunlit academy hallway. Chloe admits that she did not expect Leo to react so intensely back in class. She thinks back to his cold demeanor and how intimidating he felt. Leo's fierce dark eyes gave her an intense chill during their quick encounter. Chloe touches her neck, feeling thrilled by the danger Leo posed. She only meant to tease him, but now she thinks she found someone special. Her noble family always seeks strong warriors to marry into their line. Chloe licks her lips, eager to test Leo's power even further. The teal-haired girl looks at Chloe silently while Chloe plots her next move. Chloe turns around cheerful and unbothered to talk to her quiet friend. The teal-haired girl sighs deeply and tells Chloe that she ought to apologize. She stares at her own hand, still shocked by Leo's unbelievable strength. Chloe smirks confidently and declares that she will not let anyone else claim Leo. Her teal-haired companion stares back in absolute shock at Chloe's bold statement. Meanwhile, an 4-drip stand rattles loudly down an empty hospital corridor. A furious Valor mutters under his breath that he will destroy Leo. Still wearing hospital clothes, Valor marches forward with burning rage in his eyes. He stomps his foot hard, obsessively repeating his desire for revenge against Leo. Valor refuses to accept his defeat, claiming he is the ultimate genius of his family. He stalks down the dark, moonlit hallway, utterly consumed by his humiliation. Recalling Leo's intimidating glare only fuels Valor's desperate rage and resentment. Valor shoves another confused hospital patient out of his path without stopping. He resolves to bring his entire family's power to defeat Leo once and for all. Valor runs frantically down the hall, dragging his 4 stand right behind him. Ruby stares straight ahead with a dark, intense look on her face. Meanwhile, Valor sneaks out of his hospital room while dragging his 4 stand along. He peeks through the doorway with pure rage, vowing to make Leo pay. Inside the room, someone takes a crunchy bite out of a red apple. Leo sits calmly in the dark room, casually enjoying his fruit snack. Valor is completely stunned to find Leo already waiting inside his room. Later in class, Ruby nervously bites her fingers while holding a small utility knife. Leo glances back at her, clearly creeped out by her weird behavior. She mutters jealous threats to herself while gripping her knife tightly. Ruby suddenly snaps back to reality when she realizes Leo is watching her. She acts cute and innocent while Leo nervously begs her to put the knife away. Leo awkwardly scratches his neck while trying to handle Ruby's intense mood. Ruby remains quiet while carefully listening to what Leo has to say. Ruby looks up at Leo, surprised by his surprisingly calm reaction. Ruby watches him closely with sharp and suspicious red eyes. Ruby suddenly perks up and smiles happily after hearing Leo speak. Leo thinks deeply about how to handle Ruby's obsessive behavior safely. Leo pats Ruby on the head to keep her calm and happy. Meanwhile, Valor reacts with shock upon finding Leo inside his hospital room. Leo looks back at Valor with a cold and confident gaze. Leo casually asks if he can eat an apple from Valor's room. Valor fumes in annoyance because Leo already bit into the apple. Leo makes a relaxed comment about Valor's wealthy family background. Leo sits in the luxury hospital room and comments on how impressive the private suite is. Valor trembles in shock and asks Leo how he managed to track down his location. Leo turns around calmly while Valor stands paralyzed in fear near his hospital bed. Valor gasps in terror as Leo reaches his hand out toward a sharp table knife. Leo grips the knife tightly, making Valor believe he came here to kill him. Instead of attacking, Leo quietly begins peeling an apple with incredible precision. The shiny red peel spirals down cleanly as Leo smoothly cuts around the fruit. A long, intact strip of apple skin peels away gracefully from the fruit. Valor stares in utter disbelief as he watches Leo expertly finish peeling the apple. Leo gently sets the perfectly peeled apple onto a small white plate nearby. Leo prepares to wrap up his sudden visit after preparing the fruit for Valor. Leo tells Valor to eat some fruit to regain his strength before turning away. Valor reacts with shock as Leo quietly stands right beside him in the room. Furious at the gesture, Valor internally fumes over Leo, daring to pity him. Leo pauses near the door and casually brings up the topic of revenge. Valor completely freezes as Leo stops walking and glances back at him. Leo glares at him with dark, intimidating eyes full of silent menace. He coldly promises to destroy Valor's entire family if he ever seeks revenge. Valor gasps in complete horror, shaken to his core by the terrifying warning. Leo leaves the hospital room and slams the door shut behind him. On the nightstand, fine cut lines suddenly appear all over the peeled apple. Overwhelmed by fear, Valor loses his balance and crashes onto the floor. The apple instantly splits into perfect slices, showing Leo's unbelievable precision and power. Leo calmly walks down the quiet corridor, leaving a traumatized Valor behind. Leo realizes that Valor's spirit was completely broken after their conversation. He quietly walks through the dark academy grounds late at night. Leo smiles, knowing his terrifying warning was actually just a huge bluff. He only lied about destroying Valor's family to keep him permanently scared. Leo continues walking down the quiet path while thinking deeply. He pauses under the bright night sky and lets out a quiet sigh. Looking at the glowing moon, Leo reflects on everything he has been through. Memories of past encounters and dangerous opponents flash through his mind. He realizes he is slowly becoming accustomed to tough situations. Taking another step, Leo resolves to stay focused on his goals. The full moon continues to shine brightly over the peaceful night campus. Suddenly, Rachel appears in front of him, looking at Leo with hard eyes. Leo reflects on how he tried to avoid getting close to Rachel in this world. He decides to deal with her affection later and focus on immediate priorities. Leo pulls out his smartphone to check the details of his next exam. He reads the instructions regarding the upcoming practical combat test. Students must form 5-person teams from different classes to fight monsters. He knows strong students often end up carrying weaker teammates through these exams. The test features low-level merman monsters as the main target. These simple fish creatures are usually easy for students to defeat. They crawl around aggressively, but pose little danger to experienced fighters. However, Leo knows a dangerous secret demon mermaid boss will appear. He understands that he must gather a strong team to survive. Leo steps forward, determined to prepare for the hidden threat ahead. Leo sits on a bench at night, thinking regular monsters are weak compared to true demons. He remains seated in the quiet darkness, reflecting on his mission at the academy. Leo looks up at the night sky, steeling his resolve for the challenges ahead. Suddenly, a strange glitching effect flashes with a sharp, buzzing noise. A bright burst of light cuts through the glitching magical display. Loud warning beeps ring out as the system barrier begins to collapse. Red danger lines flash everywhere, warning that the boundary has been breached. A huge demon fist smashes right through the shattered magical barrier. The mighty demon lord emerges in a cloud of terrifying red aura. Luke readies his sword to shield the teal-haired girl from a powerful explosion. The teal-haired girl screams Luke's name as he turns to face the creature. Luke stands tall inside a beam of light, ready to fight for his life. The memory shows a terrifying demon attack overpowering a warrior during the ancient battle. The fierce struggle left brutal memories of overwhelming dark power. Returning to reality, Leo stares thoughtfully up at the calm night sky. He wonders how Valor Joaquin was strong enough to seal the 1st Legion commander alone. Sitting alone on a bench, Leo checks his phone and questions if Valor was even human. He swipes through his calendar app, looking ahead at the future years. Leo pauses to reflect deeply on how he has been spending his time. Seeing only 3 contacts saved on his phone, he realizes he has been too isolated. He decides that it is finally time to change his lonely habits. He reminds himself that his dark past days are officially over now. Smiling brightly, Leo plans to join a great group and crush his upcoming midterms. He shifts his strategy, deciding that a lively team will make succeeding much easier. Later in class, Leo sits nervously as all the other students chatter around him. He realizes he always goes overboard, making everyone around him way too intimidated. He recalls brutally slashing his opponent during their recent combat evaluation. Leo covers his face in frustration, knowing he scared everyone away from teaming with him. Suddenly, Leo notices another classmate who is sitting completely alone in the room. He looks across the classroom and sees Ruby sitting all by herself. Realizing she is also isolated, Leo thinks she is in the exact same situation. Leo approaches Ruby and asks if anyone has invited her to join a group yet. Ruby cheerfully responds that she is completely free and has no group yet. Leo asks if she would like to team up with him for the exam. Ruby happily agrees with a huge smile, thrilled to be his partner. Leo feels relieved now that he has officially secured his very first teammate. Ruby celebrates happily after Leo invites her to join his team for the exam. Suddenly, a loud shout behind Leo interrupts their peaceful moment and startles him. The energetic blonde girl comes sprinting into the classroom right toward them. She stops right near Leo, who looks annoyed by her sudden arrival. Ruby glares fiercely at her, filling the room with a terrifying aura. Leo turns away and tries to leave, saying he has no time for her. He urges her to go away, but she playfully ignores his warning. She suddenly slams her hands onto the desk directly in front of him. Leo sighs in frustration as she refuses to listen to anything he says. She smiles brightly at him, showing heart-shaped pupils in her eyes. Before Leo can react, another student unexpectedly approaches him near the doorway. The persistent blonde girl continues staring at Leo with a sly smile. Chloe suddenly reaches across the desk and grabs Leo's collar with an energetic grin. Leo remains quiet and still while Chloe refuses to let go of his shirt. Chloe stares directly at Leo with excited eyes, eager to hear his response. Leo looks back annoyed as he hears Chloe's name called out in the classroom. Chloe cheerfully flashes a peace sign, totally unfazed by Leo's cold reaction. She rests her arms on the desk and repeatedly pressures Leo to accept her. Leo looks over at Ruby to see how she feels about Chloe joining them. Ruby quietly nods back, silently agreeing to let Chloe join their team. Leo accepts the situation with a calm look, preparing to handle the extra teammate. While Chloe taps away on her phone, a tall shadow suddenly appears at Leo's desk. Chloe casually mentions a famous student on her phone while paying no attention to the stranger. Leo turns around in surprise as he notices the mysterious figure looming over him. Leo sits alone at his desk, struggling to stay calm. He bows his head, trembling in silent frustration. Leo fumes internally, wishing he could just cut fish in peace. He dreads being stuck with unpredictable teammates like Ruby and Chloe. Getting dragged into drama with high-ranking nobles makes everything worse. To make matters worse, Chloe completely refused to let him switch groups. She had already secretly submitted the team paperwork with his name on it. Fuming with rage, Leo clenches his fists tightly. Suddenly, the red-haired girl creeps up right behind Leo with glowing eyes. Leo snaps out of his rage and turns around surprised. The red-haired girl tilts her head and smiles sheepishly. She nervously admits she feels out of her depth around star students. The red-haired girl happily thanks Leo for reassuring her about their new team. Leo sits back and realizes their squad is actually filled with top-tier talent. She feels much more confident knowing she is surrounded by strong teammates. Leo looks back and asks her when they should visit their team building. They walk together through the high ceilings of the sunlit academy hallway. The red-haired girl excitedly agrees to grab a quick drink with him first. They head inside a fancy coffee shop located right on the campus. She places a large, bright green avocado smoothie firmly on the table. She happily sips her delicious drink while Leo sits awkwardly with a small cup. Leo sips his small coffee, internally groaning over the absurd $35 price tag. He practically chokes in pure agony over spending so much money on coffee. Leo stands traumatized by the ridiculous price while the girl smiles happily beside him. A small cup of expensive coffee sits on the wooden table. Geomma receives a text message on his phone asking for his location. Geomma texts Rachel back, telling her team to hurry to the cafe meeting room. Rachel texts back that she found him and is heading inside. The glass door to the private cafe meeting room creaks open. Rachel walks in holding an iced drink alongside Arthur. The rest of their teammates step into the room behind them. The full team finally gathers together around the large meeting table. Arthur glares quietly with a serious look in his eyes. Another strong teammate stands calmly beside the rest of the group. Geomma looks back at his gathered teammates with a cool expression. An orange-haired student silently joins the rest of the squad. The orange-haired boy turns around to face the rest of the squad. Arthur stands up and extends his hand toward Leo across the table. Leo stares back silently, surprised by the sudden friendly gesture from Arthur. Arthur holds out his hand patiently, waiting for Leo to respond. Leo slowly reaches out his hand to accept the greeting from Arthur. Arthur smiles warmly and shakes Leo's hand to welcome him properly. Someone places an iced coffee onto the wooden table as they settle down. The entire squad sits together at the large wooden table in the cafe. Arthur clasps his hands and begins speaking to lead the team meeting. The blonde girl laughs happily while gently elbowing the orange-haired boy. The orange-haired boy crosses his arms and sighs in annoyance at her. A close-up shows a neck tattoo that marks him as a hero. The red-haired girl speaks up, trying to keep her cool in front of everyone. She holds her hands neatly and stays polite despite feeling annoyed. She holds back her rage after remembering the blonde girl's teasing remarks. Closing her eyes, she delivers a calm and textbook self-introduction to the group. The rest of the team is impressed that she managed to control her temper. Everyone applauds her brief intro, while Leo silently feels the mood is awkward. Suddenly, a high-tech holographic projection powers on above the meeting table. A bright blue beam shoots up from Arthur's laptop, surprising the entire squad. The hologram reveals a detailed map of Scopuli Island for their upcoming exam. Arthur explains that a subspace gate will transport them to the island on exam day. He warns the squad that the monsters on the island can cause real physical injuries. Arthur taps on his laptop keyboard to zoom in closer on the island map. Arthur explains that their group is assigned to the dangerous northeastern coastal zone. The team must compete to catch the most mermen in that area. Arthur asks the group if they have any questions about the mission. A teammate reassures everyone that instructors already surveyed the area, so it is safe. The group looks concerned about the potential risks of the assigned zone. Arthur stands his ground, confident that his explanation was clear enough. Leo and his teammate quietly acknowledge the plan with a simple nod. Arthur prepares to pack up his documents after the short meeting. Leo watches Arthur closely while thinking about the upcoming exam. Leo stands up, looking focused and ready to take action. Leo keeps a sharp eye on the situation, staying completely alert. Arthur notices Leo's intense focus and gives him a curious look. Arthur calls out to his teammate, Geomma, to get his attention. Geomma sits calmly while Arthur prepares to speak with him. The team stands ready, looking out toward the dark, mysterious horizon ahead. Arthur stares intensely at Geomma, waiting for the right moment to talk. Arthur maintains a serious expression as he observes his companion closely. Geomma looks back at Arthur with a sharp, focused gaze. The tension builds between the two as they stand in the quiet room. Geomma's eyes glow with a strange, powerful light as he listens. Arthur watches him carefully, sensing the power radiating from his teammate. Arthur remains silent for a moment, gathering his thoughts before speaking. Geomma stares back, his glowing eyes revealing his intense determination. Geomma quietly tells Arthur that he understands, provided they are alike. Arthur stares intensely at Geomma, feeling that something is deeply wrong. The flags outside remind Arthur of his original home in another world. Geomma suddenly stops talking and looks away with a strange expression. Arthur stands over him, sensing that Geomma is hiding a big secret. Geomma gives him a sharp, knowing smile that catches Arthur off guard. Arthur reaches out and firmly places his hand on Geomma's shoulder. He leans in close to ask exactly where Geomma truly comes from. Geomma reacts with a mysterious gesture, leaving Arthur even more confused. Blank. A sudden sound breaks the silence as Arthur taps his fingers impatiently. Arthur's eyes glow with power as he focuses on his strange intuition. He wonders if Geomma is actually a fellow traveler from his world. Arthur sits alone, deep in thought about his mysterious classmate Geomma. He recalls a strange power, the blessing of the Blade God, that he witnessed. His mind races as he questions if Geomma is actually from another world. Arthur wonders if Geomma, like him, is just a character in this reality. He feels like a puppet being controlled by forces beyond his own understanding. A sharp, sudden headache strikes him as he tries to uncover the truth. Even with his special ability to ignore pain, the mental strain is intense. He remembers Geomma's movements, which seem too perfect for a normal person. Arthur checks a wiki online, but he finds no entry for Geomma's name. He decides that if the strange events continue, he must take immediate action. Suddenly, a girl appears and teases him about running away together right now. Arthur looks at her with a calm, focused expression, keeping his secrets hidden. Arthur feels strangely calm despite the difficult situation he is currently facing. A system notification pops up, showing that his stats are starting to improve. He reviews the specific conditions required to activate his powerful new blade ability. His body grade has increased, though his other stats remain at base levels. Arthur realizes his constant, grueling training is finally paying off for his body. He expects his weapon mastery to rise significantly once he finally obtains Murasame. He is confused by the sudden, large jump in his synchronization value. Arthur feels frustrated because he lacks clear answers about his own mysterious powers. A new system update alerts him that his pain-nullifying blessing has been recalibrated. A sudden flash of light signals that his skill duration has officially increased. Arthur is shocked to discover his ability now lasts for 40 whole seconds. Holding his blade, Arthur feels a rare sense of genuine joy and accomplishment. Arthur pushes his limits with intense physical training as the big day approaches. Arthur feels annoyed while his classmates tease him during a break. Arthur practices his sword techniques under the watchful eye of his friend. Arthur grows frustrated and tells his pushy classmates to leave him alone. With only one day left, Arthur grips his blade and prepares for action. He explodes into a sudden, high-speed dash across the training ground. A sharp, blue flash of energy cuts through the air with incredible force. Arthur swings his sword with perfect precision, testing his new strength. The blade leaves a glowing trail as he executes a powerful strike. Arthur stops to check his progress, feeling confident in his improved skills. He keeps a firm grip on his sword, ready to face any challenge ahead. A small, determined smile appears on Arthur's face as his training pays off. The day of the big midterm exam has finally arrived at the academy. A powerful presence fills the training grounds, changing the entire mood. A group of elite students stands ready to face the upcoming challenge. Rachel is clearly excited to take her role as the main attacker. Leon steps up confidently, ready to lead the team to victory. Their teammate prepares for his duties as the group's dedicated supporter. Chloe greets Geomma with a cheerful smile as the sub-attacker. Geomma arrives late and takes his position as the team's rear guard. Geomma is surprised that Rachel is wielding a powerful S-tier weapon. He wonders about the strange item his teammate is carrying as an armament. The teammate looks annoyed by the situation as they prepare for battle. Rachel teases Geomma while revealing their hidden S-tier healing gear. A mysterious, powerful flute-like item appears, signaling the start of something big. Geomma and his teammate look on, sensing the tension in the air. An instructor shouts that the academy midterms are officially beginning right now. The squad gathers together as the high-stakes test finally gets underway. Other students look nervous as they prepare for the difficult challenges ahead. The instructor gives a final, stern warning to all the students gathered. He reminds everyone not to risk their lives just for better grades. Arthur checks his watch, feeling impatient while the long speech drags on. Geomma and his team stand ready, waiting for the signal to move. Geomma notices his teammate, Chloe, looking troubled and quiet. He reaches out to her, wondering what is weighing on her mind. Chloe remains silent, her expression filled with a deep, hidden concern. Rumors of demonkin appearing outside of dungeons are becoming a serious concern for everyone. A powerful, commanding leader steps forward to address the growing tension among the students. Geomma tries to comfort Chloe, reassuring her that everything will be fine during the test. Chloe takes a deep breath, telling herself she is safe because she is with Geomma. The entire group prepares for battle. sensing that something dangerous is lurking in the shadows. Suddenly, a loud, urgent shout echoes through the area, calling out Chloe's name. Chloe freezes in shock as an unexpected threat suddenly appears before them. The ground begins to shake violently, and Geomma desperately asks if Chloe is still okay. Chloe's eyes widen in absolute terror as she stares at the terrifying sight ahead. Panic sets in as the team realizes they are trapped in a cave with no signal. They are completely cut off from the instructors, leaving them to face the danger alone. A mysterious and malevolent force begins to reveal its true, horrifying form in the darkness. A dark and terrifying entity suddenly appears before the group. The creature unleashes a powerful, blinding burst of energy. Geomma and his team are shocked to face a dangerous mermaid. The group prepares for a battle against this strange, hostile foe. Geomma gets ready to fight while the others look on closely. The team suddenly arrives at a mysterious place called Scopuli Island. They wake up on a sandy beach, feeling sick from the travel. The group feels exhausted and down after their rough arrival. Geomma checks on his friend, who says he is feeling okay. A bizarre fish creature with human legs suddenly jumps out at them. Geomma stares at the strange creature with total confusion. He realizes the odd little fish monster is smaller than he expected. Geomma feels so powerful that he barely needs his trusty knife. He chats with Victor about the dangerous area they are exploring. The group discusses how Chloe went ahead to scout the jungle. The team moves cautiously through the thick, dark trees. Victor points out something interesting to the rest of the group. Suddenly, a bright flash of light zooms past them in the forest. Someone leaps through the trees with incredible, blinding speed. A red-haired girl lands perfectly in front of the surprise team. Geomma stares, shocked by the sudden arrival of the mysterious girl. Victor looks at the newcomer with a calm and curious expression. The girl looks back, clearly startled by the group's presence. They stand before a strange stone cave, wondering if it's the destination. The team arrives at a dark, mysterious cave hidden within the jungle foliage. Inside the cave, glowing eyes peer out from the shadows near a campfire. Leo, Victor, and the blonde girl stand together and assess the situation. Victor watches closely, waiting to see what the team leader will do next. The final decision for their next move rests entirely on Leo. Leo remains silent for a moment as he carefully considers their best option. Leo tells Victor to take the rear and watch for any incoming threats. Leo explains that he will join the front line if the situation escalates. Leo's eyes flash with a sharp, determined light as he finalizes the plan. Victor realizes that Leo has made his choice and is ready to act. The blonde girl readies her weapon, preparing to jump into the heart of battle. Leo stands ready in the dark cave, focused and prepared for battle. He grips his glowing sword tightly, feeling the hum of its power. With a swift motion, Leo swings his blade to strike the monsters. A brilliant arc of light cuts through the darkness of the cave. The powerful strike surges forward, clearing a path through the shadows. The energy blast slams into the group of fish-like monsters. The creatures look confused and startled by the sudden, intense attack. The impact sends the monsters reeling as Leo keeps up the pressure. Leo moves with incredible speed, his eyes glowing with fierce intensity. He stands over the stunned creatures, ready to finish the fight. With a cold smile, Leo tightens his grip on his weapon again. He delivers a final, decisive slash to end the threat once and for all. Leo moves with incredible speed, cutting through the shadows to strike the monsters. He calls out to his teammate, Rachel, urging her to begin her task. Rachel prepares her weapon, a sharp, elegant polearm designed for precision strikes. The blade rings out with a sharp sound as she draws it for battle. Rachel stands ready, her eyes glowing with focus as she enters the fight. The ground shakes beneath her feet as she prepares to unleash her power. Rachel grips her musical instrument, ready to provide support for the team. She plays a magical melody that fills the air with a golden, protective light. The fish-like creatures scream in confusion as the melody disrupts their formation. Leo takes advantage of the chaos, counting down the enemies he defeats one by one. With every swing of his blade, Leo shatters the defenses of the remaining monsters. Leo uses his whirling wheel technique, taking down his 24th monster. He moves with incredible speed through the dark cave. With a sharp strike, Leo eliminates his 25th target. The other students watch in total shock at his impressive combat skills. Ruby draws her sword with a bright, glowing flash. She prepares to join the fight with her own powerful blade. Ruby slices through the incoming monsters with ease. She lands firmly, ready for the next wave of enemies. Ruby calmly counts 8 more kills to add to the total. More creatures jump at her, but she remains completely focused. She cuts them down instantly with precise, fluid movements. Leo and Ruby work together, clearing the swarm and reaching 45 kills. Leo and his partner look on as the monster attacks. They realize the creature is much stronger than expected. Ruby prepares to strike with her weapon held high. Leo and Ruby stand ready to face the massive beast. The monster lunges forward with a loud, powerful boom. Ruby charges the creature, her eyes glowing with intensity. Blank. True Ruby swings her weapon to slice through the monster. Leo moves with incredible speed to land his attack. The monster's head is severed by their coordinated assault. They continue their relentless barrage against the falling beast. With a sharp swish, they finish off the creature together. Ruby laughs and teases Leo about his incredible speed during the fight. Leo confirms that he was the one who finished off the monster. He calls out to his teammate, simply referring to him as Blonde. Leo feels relieved that the intense battle is finally over. Blonde arrives on the scene, still holding his glowing magical sword. Blonde notes that Leo was likely worried about their other teammates. Leo admits that he probably didn't need to be so concerned. They successfully defeated all 60 of the creatures in the cave. Blonde tells the group they can trust Leo and his partner. Leo agrees, though he still looks a bit tense after the action. The scene shifts to a quiet moment of strategy and intense focus. Leo stares at a mysterious object, deep in serious thought. Leo senses something wrong while scanning the area for more threats. Suddenly, a powerful blast knocks his teammate off the cliff. Blank. True, the impact leaves his ally injured and reeling from the surprise attack. Leo and his remaining friends quickly gather their weapons in defense. Leo spots a strange, dark figure emerging from the water nearby. A mysterious creature rises from the depths, splashing water everywhere. The group calls out in shock as the water begins to swirl violently. A terrifying silhouette takes shape amidst the rushing water currents. The creature reveals its true form, glowing with a dark, magical energy. Blank. True, the team stares in disbelief at the monstrous demonkin mermaid before them. The team is shocked that the area was not properly cleared of monsters. Leo tells his friends they have to decide between running or fighting. They try to call for help, but their signals are completely blocked. Leo realizes they are trapped, and everyone is starting to panic. He orders Rachel to keep the approaching fish monsters away from them. Leo also tells his healer to use every blessing to save their teammate, Leon. Chloe is nervous but quickly agrees to follow Leo's urgent orders. Leo commands Chloe to escape and find help from the academy instructors. Chloe worries about Leo, but he insists they must hurry before they are surrounded. Chloe hesitates for a moment before deciding to trust Leo and follow his plan. The team members quickly split up to escape while the monsters close in. The others are confused and call out to Geomma, wondering what he is doing. The team is shocked by the sudden, aggressive behavior of their ally, Geomma. Geomma unleashes a powerful blast, leaving his friends confused and terrified. Leo watches with a cold, intense look as the situation spirals out of control. Geomma claims that fighting this monster is his specialty and steps forward. He draws a glowing, lethal weapon, ready to face the threat alone. With a sharp slash, he prepares to strike down the enemy before him. Geomma moves with terrifying speed, leaving the rest of the team behind. Leo remembers that in the game, only a full party could survive this. He now faces the dangerous demonkin mermaid in a truly hopeless situation. Leo stares down the creature with a calm, focused gaze. The powerful mermaid grins, crackling with dark, electrified energy. Geomma stands ready, gripping his glowing blade as the ground begins to shake. He knows he only has 40 seconds to defeat the monster before him. The system notes that his presence has become much more intimidating lately. It begins adjusting his power levels to help him maintain control during battle. With a cold smile, Geomma prepares to hunt the creature down. Nearby, Chloe swings her spear with intense speed to strike her foes. The terrifying demonkin mermaid lets out a loud, aggressive screech of rage. The beast lunges forward and bites down hard on Chloe's weapon. Chloe fights back, forcing the creature to keep its distance from her. Chloe channels electricity into her spear, ready to deliver a finishing blow. Chloe dodges the monster's strike and shouts for it to get out of her way. A massive blast of energy erupts, shaking the entire area. Exhausted and panting, Chloe struggles to keep her guard up against the creature. Her teammate watches, wanting to provide support, but feeling completely drained. He explains that using all his energy to heal Leon has left him helpless. Though Leon is in bad shape, he is finally starting to recover. The teammate remembers how powerful Geomma became after their recent duel. Geomma stands tall, ready to face the terrifying demonkin mermaid alone. He grips his blade tightly as a sense of doom fills the air. The teammate feels intense pain just watching Geomma prepare for this dangerous fight. The demonkin mermaid swings her claws with a wicked grin. Geomma counters with a blinding strike that cuts through the monster's energy. Geomma releases a powerful blast of energy to counter the mermaid's attack. He charges forward with his blade, ready to close the distance quickly. His eyes are locked onto his target with cold, sharp focus. He knows he lacks magical skill, but he understands how to kill. He slides across the ground, preparing to strike the vulnerable enemy. Geomma leaps into the air, launching a fierce, calculated assault. He hovers above the demonkin mermaid, ready to deliver a finishing blow. Blank. True, his blade slices through the air, carving deep into the monster's body. The mermaid screams as the strike lands with devastating force. A massive splash of energy erupts, shaking the entire arena floor. The red-haired student watches in total shock as the battle ends. Geomma turns to his ally with a serious look on his face. His teammate stands nearby, still holding his instrument in shock. Geomma asks him if he is doing all right after the fight. The teammate stammers, clearly struggling to process what just happened. Geomma immediately turns back and dashes toward the battlefield again. He charges forward, ready to strike the remaining enemies down. The teammate watches him with wide, disbelieving eyes. He can only whisper Geomma's name in pure amazement. Meanwhile, the demonkin mermaid prepares a new, dangerous attack. Glowing purple energy manifests into sharp, fish-like projectiles. The monster launches the deadly magical blasts at her opponents. The powerful energy surges through the air with a loud roar. The demonkin mermaid launches a terrifying magical attack at the pair. Geomma flips through the air to dodge the glowing purple projectiles. He narrowly avoids the energy blast, but realizes he is too slow. Geomma is shocked to see the projectiles are actually tracking him. The sinister mermaid cackles as she keeps up the relentless assault. Energy tears through the stone floor with a sharp, cutting sound. Geomma uses his quick reflexes to evade the powerful magical strikes. Debris flies everywhere as the floor is shredded by the energy. The homing projectiles chase after Geomma across the battlefield. He focuses entirely on moving out of the way of the blasts. The mermaid continues to fire her deadly magic at the dodging hero. She watches with a cruel grin, confident that her trap is working. The sinister demonkin mermaid lunges forward with a terrifying, hungry grin on her face. Alice shouts in panic, realizing Geomma needs a weapon to survive this fight. Geomma looks up, startled, as he desperately tries to react to the incoming danger. The mermaid channels her dark energy, preparing to unleash another powerful, crushing strike. A massive beam of purple energy erupts, threatening to overwhelm Geomma completely. Geomma's eyes widen in sheer terror as he realizes he is running out of options. Sharp, glowing projectiles slice through the air, closing in on his position rapidly. Geomma leaps into the air, narrowly clashing blades with the deadly mermaid in mid-flight. With a sharp motion, he delivers a desperate slash to hold her back. Geomma struggles, feeling like he cannot match her overwhelming power in this moment. The mermaid growls, her glowing eyes locked onto her prey with pure malice. She gathers crackling energy in her hand, ready to finish the battle once and for all. The demonkin mermaid unleashes a powerful magical strike against the rocky terrain. A massive beam of energy erupts, tearing through the environment with incredible force. The explosion rocks the area, causing a mountain to shatter into pieces. The enraged creature growls, still hunting for its target with relentless intensity. It charges forward, ready to deliver another devastating blow to finish the fight. A final, thunderous blast echoes across the landscape, signaling a dangerous turn. Nearby, a blue-haired student alerts her companion to the terrifying noise. She describes the massive boom that just shook the distant mountain. The two students pause, feeling the weight of the strange magical disturbance. Rain begins to fall as they realize something dangerous is happening nearby. The student with white hair looks on, sensing the power behind the blast. She offers a calm, mysterious smile, seemingly aware of the chaos unfolding. A powerful magical blast tears through the mountain, leaving behind a massive, smoking crater. The earth continues to shake violently as the shockwaves ripple through the surrounding forest. Leo stands ready with his instrument while Leon watches the chaos from the ground. The strange fish-like creatures nearby shriek in terror as the ground begins to crack. Alice watches with surprise as the monsters turn around and start fleeing the area. Alice stands alone at the edge of the blue pool, confused by the sudden retreat. Leo feels annoyed because he could not land a perfect strike while protecting his friends. Another massive explosion erupts, sending rocks and debris flying through the air. Leo maintains a sharp, focused gaze as he prepares to make his next move. The demonkin mermaid unleashes her full power in a display of destructive energy. Leo sheds his jacket and leaps into action, rushing toward the dangerous mountain cliff. Leo tells Alice and Leon that the small enemies are gone and it is their turn. Leo and his ally look on in shock as the battle intensifies. They watch in awe as Leo holds his own against the monster. Leo counts down the final seconds, preparing for a decisive strike. The demonkin mermaid growls, her eyes glowing with dark energy. She lets out a terrifying shriek, preparing to unleash her power. A massive blast of energy erupts, shaking the entire area. Leo stands firm, gripping his blades and challenging the beast. Leo closes his eyes, focusing his energy for the final move. His eyes snap open, glowing bright with intense combat focus. Leo leaps into the air, closing the distance in a flash. He swings his blades with perfect precision and deadly speed. The final strike lands, cutting through everything in his path. Ruby moves quickly through the forest, her eyes locked on her target. She pushes herself to move faster, breathing heavily as the intensity builds. She keeps moving forward, refusing to let anything stop her momentum. With a sudden motion, Ruby unleashes a powerful slash with her blade. She leaps into the air, putting everything into this final, desperate attack. She feels frustrated as the battle reaches a critical turning point. Her eyes widen in shock as she senses an overwhelming presence nearby. A bright light shines behind Leo, making him look like a mysterious figure. Leo stands firm, gripping his sword as the energy around him intensifies. She remembers how Leo usually avoids fighting, preferring to stay out of trouble. Ruby stares at him in disbelief, trying to understand his sudden shift. She wonders if Leo has finally decided to draw his blade for real. Leo prepares his blade, ready to face the overwhelming power in front of him. Ruby recalls Geomma's advice as she faces the terrifying mermaid creature. A massive explosion rocks the area, leaving Ruby in a state of shock. Ruby frantically wonders if that explosion came from Leo's battle nearby. She stands frozen in the rain, consumed by worry for her friend. Ruby suddenly loses her balance and crashes hard into the ground. She quickly scrambles back to her feet, refusing to give up now. Her boots screech against the wet surface as she forces herself forward. Ruby pushes past her physical limits, determined to keep moving at all costs. She dashes through the storm, unable to stop her momentum or her fear. Breathing heavily, she desperately searches for a way to reach her destination. Tears stream down her face as she cries out, driven by pure panic. Ruby rushes through the pouring rain, desperate to find her friend. Tears stream down her face as she faces a terrifying situation. A group of shadowy, monstrous figures looms in the distance. Ruby stares in horror at the creatures surrounding her. She cries out in agony, wondering why this is happening now. Suddenly, the sound of clashing metal rings through the air. Ruby lunges forward, her blade meeting a mysterious opponent's weapon. The intense strike sends sparks flying into the stormy night. Ruby's eyes glow with determination despite her overwhelming fear. Her opponent, a blue-haired fighter, remains cold and focused. A heavy thud echoes as someone hits the wet ground. The fight pauses as the group surveys the aftermath in silence. Ruby lies defeated on the ground while her enemies loom over her in the ring. Victor and his companions are stunned by the sudden, brutal ambush against them. The group watches Ruby closely, determined to make her pay for this attack. A mysterious, shadowy figure emerges, catching the attention of the onlookers. Ruby remains broken and silent, crying as the rain pours down on her. True, the group stands in silence, witnessing a scene that leaves them completely speechless. Arthur watches in awe, unable to believe the incredible display unfolding before him. A masked fighter demonstrates terrifying precision, slicing through a fish with absolute ease. The fish continues to struggle on the cutting board despite the expert strikes. The fighter shows total domination, moving with lethal speed against the creature. Arthur realizes this legendary moment will stay in his memory for a lifetime. The mysterious fighter moves with terrifying speed, deflecting all incoming attacks with ease. He closes the distance instantly, his blade glowing with an intense, sharp energy. With a single, focused motion, he prepares to deliver a precise, lethal strike. His sword slices through the air, cutting the dark entity clean in two. The enemy is shattered into pieces by the fighter's perfect, effortless technique. The threat is neutralized as the fighter lands calmly on the ground. Arthur and Clara watch the display in total disbelief and complete awe. Even Clara, a talented spear expert, has never witnessed skill at this level. She remains stunned, struggling to process the overwhelming power she just saw. Clara calls out to the fighter, desperate to understand his incredible weapon mastery. The fighter turns around, his presence commanding the attention of everyone nearby. A massive shockwave follows, signaling that the battle is far from over. Arthur and Clara leap away to safety as the battlefield crumbles around them. Clara yells at Arthur to stay focused, reminding him that he could die. The ground rumbles violently as the powerful magic begins to tear everything apart. They watch in stunned silence as the terrain is destroyed by the intense energy. Arthur realizes the danger, knowing the magic-wielding monster could easily kill him. Despite the chaos, the battle is far from over for the desperate pair. The mysterious fighter stands ready, his expression cold and completely unfazed by danger. He prepares his blade, radiating an aura of absolute doom for his enemy. With a swift motion, he readies himself for the next lethal strike. The terrifying monster growls, preparing to unleash its hidden, dark power. It launches a deadly needle squall attack, filling the air with sharp projectiles. The creature lets out a piercing shriek, ready to crush anyone in its path. The mysterious fighter stands calmly as the monster prepares a deadly attack. The creature unleashes a rapid storm of glowing purple needles. The monster winds up for a powerful and vicious swing. Energy crackles through the air as the intense battle continues. Arthur dashes forward, ready to strike back against the onslaught. He moves with incredible speed, dodging the incoming barrage of magic. The needles shatter against the environment, creating loud explosions everywhere. Arthur weaves through the chaos, closing the distance to his enemy. His eyes remain focused as he grips his blade tightly for a counter. Arthur swings his sword with precision, cutting through the monster's defenses. The monster is struck, its form beginning to fall apart from the blow. The monster stares at Arthur with intense, glowing eyes. Arthur prepares to launch another powerful strike. The creature recoils as Arthur moves with blinding speed. The monster lets out a terrifying, high-pitched screech. A flash of bright energy lights up the battlefield. Arthur watches the monster closely, waiting for an opening. The monster tries to overwhelm Arthur with a heavy attack. Arthur expertly dodges, leaving the monster to crash down. The creature snarls, its sharp teeth glinting in the dark. Arthur lands a solid hit, drawing blood from the beast. The monster begins to gather dark energy in its throat. It prepares to fire a massive blast of magic at Arthur. Arthur stares down the monster as it unleashes a massive wave of energy. Victor and Chloe scream for Arthur to dodge the incoming deadly attack. Arthur stands still, his eyes glowing with a strange and intense power. He thinks to himself that if he could just reach his true potential, the world around him shifts into a surreal, water-like dimension of light. True, Arthur stands alone in this mysterious space, wondering what will happen next. He feels the liquid beneath his feet as he prepares for his move. He reaches out his hand, and energy begins to gather in his palm. With a sharp sound, he focuses his intent to strike back at the beast. True, Arthur releases a powerful beam of energy, cutting through the sky instantly. Arthur stares ahead with intense focus, his eyes glowing with newfound power. He declares that the enemy before him will be cut down. Sweat drips down his face as he prepares for the final strike. Arthur grips his blade tightly, ready to unleash his hidden strength. He shifts into a powerful stance, channeling all his energy forward. With a swift motion, he lunges toward his target with incredible speed. The surrounding area is battered by the violent storm and rain. Arthur and the monster clash, creating a massive shockwave between them. The ground crumbles under the immense pressure of their battle. A giant crater forms as the dust settles around the fighters. The raw power displayed is nothing short of pure magic. Back in safety, a woman approaches Arthur to offer him a reward. Rain falls heavily on the dark ground where blood pools near a blade. The defeated monster lies motionless on the ground, looking completely drained. Arthur stands tall with a dark aura, his eyes glowing with intensity. He looms over the fallen beast, gripping his sharp blade firmly. Arthur stares down with a cold, focused expression amidst the heavy rain. The monster lets out a weak, pained groan as it struggles to breathe. Two students watch the scene in total shock, unable to look away. Arthur makes a swift, precise motion with his sword in the dark. The monster's head is cleanly severed, falling toward the ground with a thud. The severed head rolls across the cold, wet stone floor. Arthur remains standing still as the monster's head drops over the edge. One of the students watches in stunned silence, sweating from the tension. Arthur stands alone in the rain after defeating the powerful monster. The battle is finally over and victory belongs to Arthur. Arthur stands still while catching his breath in the heavy downpour. His classmates watch him with wide eyes, stunned by his incredible skill. Fresh blood splatters across the ground as the tension remains high. Blank. True Arthur suddenly collapses to his knees, dropping his trusty blade. His friends rush over to help him after the intense fight. They check on Leon, who appears to be okay despite the chaos. Suddenly, a student senses a new and dangerous presence nearby. He panics, fearing that a group of mermen has returned to attack. The group quickly dashes toward the cave entrance to investigate the threat. Arthur senses something significant has arrived on the battlefield. Arthur sighs in relief, noting that the reinforcements have finally arrived. Teal-Haired girl and the others look on, completely stunned by the scene. One student gasps in terror, questioning what exactly they are looking at. In the rain, a mysterious creature lies dismembered and cut into pieces. The students gather around, shocked to see a strange mermaid-like being. Blonde girl holds a wounded friend, wondering why such a monster is here. Teal-Haired girl watches the scene with a cold, serious expression. Tension rises as the group stares at the aftermath of the brutal fight. Blonde boy mocks the situation, claiming others care more about image than survival. Teal-Haired girl reveals she contacted the academy and help is coming soon. She demands an explanation from the group about what happened here. The student is frustrated that instructors claimed the island was safe despite the monster. Teal-Haired girl demands that he stop complaining and just explain the situation. The student asks if she is trying to give him orders right now. Teal-Haired girl insists she is just trying to get the facts about the threat. The student sarcastically agrees to explain, even though she probably will not believe him. He claims that explaining things is his true area of expertise. Blank. True, he prepares to tell her the strange truth about what happened here. Teal-Haired girl struggles to believe that a mermaid appeared and Geomma defeated it alone. The student confirms that is exactly what happened during the fight. Teal-Haired girl thinks his story sounds more realistic than other wild theories. She realizes that the students have no reason to lie about the incident. A mysterious girl with teal hair looks on with intense focus. She reflects on the powerful lineage and destiny surrounding them. The teal-haired girl stands ready, her eyes glowing with determination. Her sharp gaze remains fixed on the situation unfolding before her. She pauses, wondering about the true nature of her own existence. She thinks about Geomma Kong and his incredible hidden strength. She questions if she was ever truly just an ordinary person. She asks the others to help heal the badly injured Geomma. A blonde girl uses her magic to heal Geomma's wounds. They are shocked that Geomma defeated the monster all by himself. The teal-haired girl lets out a heavy sigh of relief. A classmate asks if she has successfully contacted the academy yet. Leo and his classmate wonder why the instructors failed to secure the island. The girl agrees that something feels deeply wrong about the situation. Leo points out that Scopuli Island should have been safe for students. He questions how a dangerous demon can manage to hide here so easily. The girl listens closely as Leo begins to suspect a larger conspiracy. Leo suggests that someone might be helping the enemy from inside. He looks concerned while contemplating the dangerous possibility of a traitor. Leo wonders if a spy for the Demon King is hiding within the academy. The two students share a tense silence as they process this scary thought. Leo admits it is just a theory, but he cannot ignore the danger. Meanwhile, Geomma remains in a weakened state after his intense battle. The history of the long truce between realms is now being challenged. Leo faces a dark force threatening the students at the academy. The teal-haired girl looks on in shock after the confrontation. Leo warns his friend Abel not to jump to dangerous conclusions. Leo insists they must consider that a spy is hiding among them. His friend argues that they should not act rashly over one event. They decide they need to agree on a story to tell others. Leo feels uneasy about hiding the truth of what happened. They look at the unconscious student and feel they owe him. Other students watch the pair, wondering what they are discussing. The teal-haired girl makes a quiet gesture, keeping their secret safe. The sun sets over the academy as the day comes to a close. Night begins to fall, hiding the secrets buried within the school. Leo wakes up in a hospital bed, feeling confused and disoriented. He stares blankly, trying to piece together what happened to him. A strange, ghostly laughter echoes around the room, chilling him to the bone. Leo reaches out his hand, testing the air as if touching something invisible. His fingers brush against a hidden, magical energy lingering in the room. Leo realizes he survived a brush with death and is still alive. He recalls a terrifying vision of a dark, magical attack aimed at him. Leo remembers manifesting a powerful magic ball to defend himself. He clearly saw the invisible threat manifesting right in front of him. In his memory, he swung his blade with intense speed and precision. He managed to slice through the dark, magical thread attacking him. The strike was so powerful it created a brilliant flash of light. Leo remembers the power of water flowing through his blade during the battle. He sits in his hospital bed, reflecting on the strange blessing he received. A mysterious system screen appears, showing his stats and new combat conditions. Leo reads the specific requirements needed to activate his powerful sword ability. He realizes that this secret power is the reason he stayed calm during danger. Leo reaches out to touch the floating blue screen with his finger. The screen flashes brightly as he interacts with a magical interface. A mysterious reward or status update remains hidden behind a question mark. Leo thinks about the terrifying magic of the demonkin he previously encountered. Suddenly, a girl named Sarah rushes into the room and calls out to him. She surprises Leo by pulling him into an unexpected and tight embrace. Leo is shocked and overwhelmed as Sarah continues to squeeze him tightly. Leo looks startled as Sarah clings to him in the hospital room. Sarah starts frantically searching through her small floral bag for something. Leo coughs awkwardly while Sarah continues to dig through her belongings. Sarah triumphantly pulls out a sleek, glowing sword to show Leo. She rests the weapon right on Leo's lap as she prepares to speak. An older, distinguished man suddenly appears at the doorway to interrupt them. Leo stares at the man, feeling surprised by his unexpected arrival. The system identifies the powerful new blade as the rank B Murasame. Leo clutches the sword while Sarah keeps her eyes locked on him. They both notice someone else peeking through the slightly open door. Sarah yells at the person at the door, demanding they enter immediately. The older man walks in, looking annoyed at how Sarah addressed him. An older man sternly tells Leo to stop acting like a teenager. Leo looks up at the man, clearly feeling annoyed by the comment. The older man and Sarah stand together, looking down at Leo. Leo remains silent, sitting in his hospital bed while they watch him. The man mentions that the island was in grave danger, worrying Leo. Sarah stares intensely at Leo, her red eyes focused and sharp. The older man looks away, seemingly deep in his own serious thoughts. Leo sits quietly, scratching his face while he thinks about their words. He keeps scratching his cheek, feeling the heavy tension in the room. Blank. True. Sarah smiles down at Leo, her expression shifting to something softer. She leans in closer toward the bed, keeping her eyes on him. The man suggests that the real danger is hiding inside the academy itself. Leo listens carefully, trying to piece together the truth behind these mysterious claims. Sarah watches the interaction with a sharp, calculating look in her eyes. Sarah teases Leo, jokingly calling him an old man for his serious attitude. The two visitors turn and walk away, their footsteps echoing down the quiet hallway. They pause for a moment, the tension between them clearly visible in their expressions. They stop walking completely, standing still as if locked in a deep conversation. Sarah turns to the man, testing his memory with a pointed, difficult question. The man stares back at her, seemingly taken aback by her bold remark. Sarah mocks his past behavior, reminding him of when he refused all orders. She keeps a steady gaze, waiting to see how the man will react. The man reflects on the past, noting how different the academy used to be. An older man watches the situation with a serious, focused expression. Green energy crackles in the air as a mysterious power gathers. Suddenly, the windows shatter into pieces under the intense magical pressure. The older man turns around, clearly shocked by the sudden destruction. The man and the green-haired woman stand together amidst the debris. The woman looks intense, her glasses reflecting her sharp, focused gaze. She explains that she had instructors run many surveys to stay safe. She notes that she exercised the utmost caution during her investigation. However, she admits that despite all her efforts, something went wrong. The older man looks at her, waiting for her to continue explaining. He reaches out and gives her a reassuring pat on the shoulder. The woman gives a small, confident smile as the tension eases slightly. The older man looks stern while thinking about Medea. A young woman excitedly tells him about a student who defeated a mermaid alone. She is clearly impressed by the boy's incredible combat skills. The man reflects on the boy's rare and extraordinary natural talent. He remembers many so-called geniuses who eventually lost their luster. Blank. True, most prodigies shine brightly for a moment before fading away like meteors. Blank. True, desperate families often label anyone with a hint of talent as a hero. He notes that he did not even force his own granddaughter into that role. He wonders if this boy possesses a truly unreachable level of power. He finally admits the boy is a true genius who could achieve anything. The old man wonders if Leo is truly the one to reach a legendary realm. He walks past a mysterious woman with green hair and glasses. The woman glances back at him with a sharp, knowing look. She gives a strange, confident smile as he passes by her. The old man dismisses the encounter, claiming he remembers nothing about her. Leo arrives at the classroom for the wolf class. Leo looks around the room, feeling focused and alert. He finds a quiet seat in the back to settle in. Later, Leo visits the local forge to speak with the blacksmith. The blacksmith is busy preparing for a big anniversary event. Suddenly, Leo hears a noise and turns his head to look. He sees a girl with red hair walking toward him with a crutch. Leo notices Chloe limping toward him and asks her what happened. Chloe explains that she injured her leg, but a special buff helped her recover. She proudly tells Leo that she managed to get back on her feet quickly. Leo listens as Chloe catches him up on the latest Academy news. Leo asks Chloe if he missed any major events while he was away. Chloe mentions that there is tension between the director and the Elder Council. She recalls a dangerous mission where she had to call for a rescue. She remembers Rachel fighting mermen while their team used speed and healing buffs. Leo thinks about the dangers of the demonic realm and the risks involved. He worries that someone would surely die if they entered that place unprepared. Suddenly, a loud voice commands the entire classroom to be silent. A stern instructor storms into the room, demanding that everyone take their seats. The teacher gathers everyone to announce a major, unexpected change to their studies. He nervously explains that the class will now have a second instructor. The students are stunned and confused by the sudden news of a new teacher. Everyone gasps in shock as they try to process the unusual announcement. A mysterious, older man with sharp eyes steps forward to take command. This new instructor looks powerful and carries a very intimidating presence. True, the original teacher looks terrified while standing next to the stern newcomer. The new man stares intensely, his glowing eyes scanning the room for trouble. Leo watches the scene with growing concern, sensing that something is wrong. Suddenly, a window nearby shatters into pieces as an intruder bursts inside. A hooded figure crashes through the wall, creating total chaos in the classroom. The hooded man begs for forgiveness while cowering in fear. A powerful woman delivers a brutal, magical slap to his face. The man collapses, clearly overwhelmed by his attacker's sudden strength. He coughs and apologizes to Instructor Kim, calling the woman Elder Claudie. The mysterious woman is identified as a dangerous 5th Legion commander. She is clearly furious and radiates a dark, magical energy. She coldly calls this second disaster a result of his failure. Claudie mockingly holds up a small, strange, colorful creature. She eats the creature, telling the man he missed his chance. She insults him further, calling him a useless nuisance. She strikes him again with another painful, magically charged blow. The battered man gasps for air, completely at her mercy. Claudie is furious that her agent failed to deliver Leon in a broken state. She scolds him for wasting the powerful mermaid she gave him to use. Claudie blames his incompetence for forcing the powerful Blade Emperor to stay at the academy. The man tries to apologize, but Claudie is clearly finished with his excuses. She strikes him down with a brutal, magical blow to his face. The man cries out in agony as he reels from the sudden, powerful attack. Bleeding and terrified, he curses Claudie for her overwhelming power and cruelty. Claudie calmly complains about getting a tiny bit of blood on her expensive shoes. She crouches down to clean her footwear, acting like the man is just trash. Claudie finds it ridiculous that a mermaid could lose to a group of beginners. She admits that this year's students are surprisingly capable and full of surprises. The man reveals the shocking truth that only one student defeated the mermaid. Claudie is shocked to hear that a single student defeated her powerful minion. She demands to know the identity of the student who ruined her plans. Her agent reveals that the top scorer of the year, Geomma, was responsible. Claudie realizes she underestimated the special entrant from the academy. She smiles, sensing that this new information could be useful to her. Claudie finds the situation quite interesting now that she knows the truth. She prepares a new magical attack, clearly plotting something dangerous. Meanwhile, students at the academy are busy with their intense physical training. The instructor pushes the class hard, demanding they stop being so quiet. The students continue their rigorous run under the strict guidance of their teacher. A student with a crutch watches the group run past from the sidelines. Despite her injury, Ruby cheers on her classmates with a bright, supportive smile. Geomma is surprised to find himself running alongside an unexpected partner during training. He suddenly realizes who is keeping pace with him and feels a jolt of shock. Geomma stammers in disbelief while trying to maintain his focus on the intense run. He wonders why this mysterious old man is suddenly running right beside him. The legendary figure known as Aran the Blade Saint appears in his thoughts. He recalls the famous stories about elite warriors and the powerful titles they hold. These legendary figures are destined to play a major role in the unfolding story. Geomma tries to keep his cool while processing the presence of the powerful elder. He thinks about how Leon was unable to achieve the prestigious Blade Saint title. It was common knowledge that even the main protagonist could not earn that rank. Other students watch them run by, clearly intimidated by the legendary Blade Emperor. The old man continues to sprint with incredible energy, leaving Geomma in his wake. Geomma is completely overwhelmed by the sheer speed of the legendary man running beside him. The mysterious instructor stares forward with intense focus, refusing to let Geomma slow down. The old man orders Geomma to stop looking for shortcuts and keep up the pace. Geomma forces himself to push harder, desperately trying to keep the legendary figure in sight. The instructor effortlessly zips ahead, leaving Geomma struggling to breathe in his wake. Geomma feels the gap between them widening, realizing just how vast their power difference is. Other students begin to swarm the track, all trying to keep up with the intense training. Geomma gasps for air, his body aching from the relentless speed of the morning run. The instructor makes a shocking announcement that all personal weapons are now strictly prohibited. Suddenly, a pile of swords and gear clatters to the ground as the students disarm. The students stop in their tracks, looking confused and uncertain about the new, strict rules. The instructor stands firm, watching as the students discard their weapons for the upcoming training. The students look confused as they stare at the pile of discarded weapons. The instructor commands the students to explain why they relied on their gear. One student raises his hand, hoping to impress the stern old man. The instructor stands tall, ready to teach them a harsh, important lesson. He warns that depending on fancy weapons stops a fighter from growing stronger. True strength comes from within, not from the power of a borrowed blade. Another student tries to get attention, but the instructor remains unimpressed by them. The instructor looks at the group with sharp, intense, and knowing eyes. His gaze is piercing, searching for a student with real potential inside. He believes a true master must first conquer their own personal limits. Geomma walks forward, finally starting to understand the old man's difficult test. Geomma nods silently, accepting the challenge to grow without his usual weapon. The instructor stands before his students, ready to teach them a vital lesson. He explains that true masters must excel even with the most basic weapons. The students are shocked and confused by this sudden and intense announcement. They watch in disbelief as the instructor demonstrates his overwhelming, mysterious power. Geomma watches the demonstration with a look of deep focus and realization. Simple tools lie discarded on the ground, waiting for the students to choose. Geomma picks up a basic blade, finally accepting the instructor's difficult challenge. He realizes this is all part of the instructor's plan for them. The instructor announces that today will be filled with one-on-one sparring sessions. The students whisper among themselves, wondering if this training involves a hidden subspace. The instructor declares that real growth only happens when warriors are pushed hard. A student prepares for combat as the instructor shows off his sharp blade. The students gather around, whispering excitedly about the legendary figures they usually only see online. Geomma trembles while holding his weapon, clearly feeling the immense pressure of the situation. He realizes he is facing the biggest crisis of his entire life right now. Geomma nervously asks his opponent to please go easy on him during their spar. His opponent stares back with intense, glowing eyes, clearly ready for a serious fight. The students watch in silence as Geomma stands his ground before the match begins. Blank. True, the tension rises as the two fighters lock eyes, preparing for an epic collision. The crowd watches in awe as the Blade Emperor prepares to face the Blade Demon. The mysterious veteran narrows his eyes as he unsheaths his sharp, formidable blade. His sword begins to glow with a powerful, brilliant light that catches everyone's attention. The students are stunned, realizing this display of skill is unlike anything they have ever seen. Other students whisper and mock Geomma from the sidelines. Geomma hears their insults but stays focused on his opponent. The legendary Blade Emperor watches Geomma with intense, glowing golden eyes. Geomma keeps his cool, determined to face the master regardless of the danger. The master grips his glowing sword, ready to unleash devastating power. The two fighters stand ready as the tension in the arena spikes. A blinding flash of light erupts as the duel begins in earnest. Geomma grits his teeth, bracing for the overwhelming force coming his way. The master warns that this fight will likely end in a gruesome injury. Geomma realizes he has drifted far from the original story's predicted path. Geomma tries to de-escalate, asking the master to lower his dangerous blade. The crowd continues to cheer, hoping to see Geomma get crushed. Geomma stands firm, feeling the weight of the moment as the crowd watches him. His intense gaze locks onto the Blade Emperor, refusing to back down from the challenge. The Blade Emperor mocks him, questioning why he still hides his true power. The legendary master looms over him, his presence radiating an aura of pure doom. Geomma remembers his pride, the very thing that drives his dedication to his craft. He knows he cannot abandon his blade now, not when he has come this far. Others try to push him away, calling him a mere special entrant with no business here. Geomma grips his sword tightly, preparing his mind for the struggle to come. He makes a sudden move, catching the Blade Emperor off guard for a brief second. The master watches with a cold smile, sensing that Geomma has finally made his move. The surrounding students watch in stunned silence as the tension reaches a breaking point. The air rings with the sound of a blade being drawn for the final clash. Geomma stares down his opponent, his focus sharp and unwavering. He prepares to unleash a powerful technique to gain the upper hand. Blank. True, the two fighters stand ready in a tense, silent standoff. The pressure between them is immense as the battle begins. Geomma takes a steady step forward, closing the distance between them. The Blade Emperor reflects on this familiar and dangerous situation. Even after decades, the memory of his past training remains clear. He remembers a young student training under a mysterious one-armed knight. The young boy struggles to hold his blade against his mentor. His eyes widen as he realizes the truth behind this encounter. The past and present collide as the master recognizes his pupil. The Blade Emperor grips his sword tightly as he prepares to face Geomma. He remembers a young boy from his past, noticing the same intensity in Geomma. The Blade Emperor has watched Geomma closely ever since his first entrance exam. He wonders if the boy is truly the key to unlocking his potential. The Blade Emperor raises his blade, ready to test the limits of his student. He believes this clash will finally help him reach a higher level of power. The Blade Emperor moves with incredible speed, launching a powerful strike at Geomma. Their eyes lock for a brief moment as the fierce battle intensifies. The Blade Emperor swings his sword downward with expert precision and immense strength. He is suddenly surprised by Geomma's fast reaction to his opening move. Geomma lunges forward with his own blade, refusing to back down from the challenge. Both warriors swing their weapons in a blur of motion as the duel escalates. The air crackles with intense energy as the duel reaches a breaking point. The Blade Emperor stares down his student with glowing, predatory eyes. Geomma grips his blade tightly, ready to unleash his true potential. Other students watch the match with growing confusion and concern. They assume Geomma was just an ordinary student with little skill. The tension on the training ground is thick enough to cut. One student whispers that he expected Geomma to get crushed easily. The crowd remains baffled by Geomma's sudden, incredible display of power. A nearby observer watches in shock, realizing they were completely wrong. The observer's eyes widen as he recognizes the danger unfolding. He realizes that Geomma is actually reaching a legendary state of combat. The Blade Emperor remains focused, silently waiting for Geomma's next move. Geomma stands his ground as he prepares to face the Blade Emperor's next move. He tightens his grip on his sword, feeling a sudden change in energy. A mysterious, glowing power begins to radiate from Geomma's blade. The ground beneath him trembles from the sheer intensity of his aura. The Blade Emperor watches closely, clearly impressed by this display of talent. Blue flames erupt around Geomma's weapon, signaling a massive increase in strength. A powerful technique known as the Blessing of the Blade Phantom awakens. A spectral warrior manifests behind Geomma, guiding his every movement. Geomma charges forward with newfound speed and overwhelming spiritual pressure. The air crackles with energy as he prepares to unleash his attack. He swings his blade with perfect form, putting everything into the strike. The arena shakes violently as the force of his blow hits the ground. The entire training ground shakes as the students watch the intense duel unfold. Geomma channels his immense power, his face showing a look of fierce determination. Leo matches his energy, gripping his blade tightly as he prepares to counter. A shocked student watches in terror as the ground begins to crack apart. Clara rushes forward in a panic, trying to stop the out-of-control sparring match. Geomma and Leo stand amidst the ruins of the training yard, still locked in. Clara looks furious, her eyes glowing with a strange and intense red light. She screams at them, demanding to know if they have lost their minds. Geomma releases his final strike, hoping his message reaches his powerful opponent. If you want part 2 of this video, drop a comment, and at 1,000 likes I'll release part 2. Tell us in the comments how much you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for part 2.